Somebody once told me the world is gonna roll me. I ain't the sharpest tool in the shed. She was looking kind of dumb with her finger and her thumb in the shape of an L on her forehead. Well, the years start coming and they don't stop coming. Fed to the rules and I hit the ground running. Didn't make sense not to live for fun. Your brain gets smart but your head gets dumb. So much to do, so much to see. So what's wrong with taking the back streets? You'll never know if you don't go. You'll never shine if you don't glow. Hey now, you're an all-star. Get your game on, go play. Hey now, you're a rock star. Get the show on, get paid. Only shooting stars break the mold. Do you remember when it got started? September, love was changing the mind of September. While chasing the clouds away, our hearts ringing in the key that souls are singing as we dance in the night. Remember, all the stars for the night away. Hey now, you're an all-star. Get your game on, go play. Hey now, you're a rock star. Get the show on, get paid. Only shooting stars break the mold.
Check Alex Gunther. Why, dude? He's baiting. I know who this is.
Stinky up. Here we go.
We're finally here, performing for you.
If you know the word, you can join in too.
Put your hands together if you wanna clap as we take you through this monkey rap. DK, Donkey Kong. DK, Donkey Kong.
He's the leader of the bunch. You know him well.
He's finally back to kick some tail.
His coconut gun can fire experts. If he shoots ya,
It's gonna hurt.
he's bigger, faster, and stronger too.
He's the first member of the DK crew. DK, Donkey Kong. DK, Donkey Kong is here.
straight to the point. I found
Good evening, boys, girls, and MBs of all shapes, sizes, colors, and orientations. Welcome back to the one, the only Alec Gunther stream. I got some exciting news for everybody. Primarily, we got a new camera, boys. We got a new camera. How's it look? I think it looks pretty damn good if I do say so myself. The colors in the background pop, don't they? It's sick. I also made it so that I'm more set off to the side of the chat. I think it looks better. It's very tin can. Really? How's that? Here, let me listen to myself. Echo? Interesting content. Is it still echoing? Because the first thought I had was that it's like I had a tab open. The clean shape, thank you. It's actually more of a buzz. Still hear it? Okay, I'll try to fix it real quick. Hold on. You know what it probably is? Hold on. Hold on, I think I know. I think my new camera's capturing sound as well. I think that's what it is. Let me just open up devices. We'll see if I can just shut it up. USB video. Okay, it says my hardware settings have changed, but I need to reset my computer. Here, wait, actually, hold on, what am I doing? Okay, yeah, I think I know what's okay. Yeah, so my camera is definitely picking up the sound. Let me see. God damn it, I'm gonna have to screw with it. Alright, well, it's gonna take a minute. Hold on. we sound? Much better? Good. Good, good, good. Hold on a minute. The problem is that the setup is so janky. The setup is so janky that every time I set up the camera, or every time I have to like adjust the physical camera, like the hardware, I gotta like adjust it. Hoping I won't have to do that.
Did you just permanently ban
Okay.
Alec Gunter?
How are we doing? All right, I think that's good. I think it's a little bit. The camera's showing a little bit higher than it was before. Let me check. This. Okay, that looks good. It's double screen. It's double on this screen? What do you mean? But not on the waiting screen? Oh, it's okay. It's still doing it. Okay, I think it's because of the webcam thing still. Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. I gotta stop for a second. Well, actually, hold on. Let me try one more thing. Here, I'll go on this screen since my audio doesn't suck shit. Bear with me. Ooh, the cats are hungry. Okay. Oh shit. Vice manager.
Superintendent Chalmers, welcome. I hope you're prepared for an unforgettable luncheon. Oh, you gods! My roast is ruined. Ruined. What if I were to purchase fast food and disguise it as my own cooking?
All I need is to disable the sound capture on this camera. That's all I need to do. Sorry. I need to go back to here. Okay, menu. Okay, hold on.
It's steam. Steam from the steamed clams we're having. Steamed clams.
Actually, I'm gonna leave it on this screen so you guys can hear. Sorry, you're gonna be looking at the wall for a second.
What region?
State New York.
Really? Well, I'm from Utica, and I've never heard anyone use the phrase steamed hams.
Oh, not in Utica. No. It's an
I see.
Should be fine now. I turned off audio recording.
You know, these hamburgers are quite similar to the ones they have at Krusty Burger.
Excellent. All right, looks like we're doing good.
Skinner Burgers.
Thank you for putting up with me.
For steamed hams.
Yes.
Yes, and you call them steamed hams despite the fact
Okay.
that they're obviously grilled.
Think we're good. Oh shit, that was close.
You know,
Welcome once again.
one thing I...
I mean, I can't get it perfect, you know? Like, I want it down a little bit lower.
Good time was had by all. I pooped.
Like,
Yes, I should be. Good Lord, what is happening in there?
okay, that's perfect. Okay, that's good.
Aurora Borealis.
I think that's good.
Aurora Borealis. At this time of year,
Hello, everybody.
this time of day, in this part of the country, localized entirely within your...
I feel like I'm still kind of relegated to a corner.
That's it.
Maybe if I zoom a little.
Seymour, the house is on fire!
There you go. Is that better? Or do you guys like it when I'm smaller? Because I like seeing my wall
Fellow, but I must say, you steam
a little bit more. You know what I mean? What do you guys think? Yeah, I do have stuff to show. Yeah, we'll just leave it here. I think this is fine. Good wall, nice artwork. That's true. That all those things are true. Those are all very true words you just said. Let me turn up the lighting a little bit. I did have to fuck around with my lights quite a bit. I've been working on this setup all day. You don't understand. I was back and forth to Best Buy, Walmart, trying to figure out, like, I had to return at least one thing. Two things, actually. I had to figure out, like, there's just, you guys don't even know. I worked on this for hours. It ain't easy. It ain't easy being streezy. I mean, a streamer. It's good lighting. Thank you. You wouldn't believe it, but it's actually just two, like, $10 lamps. No, they're like $20. They're like $20 standing lamps that you can, like, adjust the thing. Works pretty well, though. You know, can't knock it. Alright, well, I just want to have a good heckin' time tonight. Do a heckin' big Chungus stream. 420 blaze it, you know what I mean? Hit the gritty and whatnot. Whip and nay-nay. Maybe even a floss after my victory royale. Also, I changed around the colors on the side again. So now my colors are much nicer. I got rid of my rainbow, my stupid rainbow thing. I made it platinum colored. Ha! I got the coolest one. All you gays can suck it. I can barely hear the music. I turned on a meme lo-fi playlist. Lady Nova, stop being so pleasant. It's hard to bully you when you're pleasant. This is why I got Winry. Speaking of. Come here. She is such a creature. She's figured out how to keep me from, like, she's figured out how to squeeze herself into a position so that, like, I can't pick her up. Whatever. I don't know how long I'm going to be streaming. I just wanted to test out the new camera. I was super excited about it. I don't know if I want to do any serious segments, though. I might save that for, if I do stream tomorrow again. Which I might. I might save that for tomorrow. Let's see, we watch that. Actually, I kind of want to watch... Okay, I kind of want to watch more of this guy's videos. Redeem Zoomer. It just seems like a content goldmine. Christian theologians tier list? Nuh-uh. This dude's such a nerd. feel like I'm really big right here. How's that? I feel like I also have to fix my, like, I want to organize my chat thing a little bit, make it a little bit thinner. Congrats on the site. Thank you, Somniostatic. Welcome. Okay, don't need that. Need that. Hold on. Okay, hold on. Thank you so much for the tier 1 sub, Somniostatic. Appreciate you. Already got peepos and everything. Hell yeah. I still need to update the notification settings, though. The admin. What was I doing again? Shit. Oh yeah, chat. Not chat. I like the neon chat line. No, I'm keeping that the way it is. I'm talking about on my screen, this. Like, I want it to be a little bit more condensed, but I think if I just crop it... What do we do properties? Ah, here we go. Okay. So width, we can do... This is easy. Maybe 500? I didn't do nothing. Okay, still didn't do anything. The embed has to be like different, right? I don't know. I forget how to do this. What? It's fine. It's fine. It looks fine. It looks fine. We're fine. Okay. We'll keep it as it is. What's going on, YouTube? Side chat. Oh yeah, I didn't put site chat in the description. I gotta do that as well. It'd be really nice if I had it all like where I can actually edit it, but alas, I must do this. Also, holy shit, my subs have been skyrocketing lately. Like, my views are up. Stonks. Stonks is basically what I'm saying. Big stonks. Big numbers. Line go up. There we go. Gonna start getting goobers coming over from YouTube. That's right. That's the goal. I don't know what it is, but like for some reason I just cough. I get the really strong inclination to cough, and I can't stop it. Lately, it's really gross. I don't like it. One-minute videos promoting each Christian denomination. Oh geez. What do we have in content suggestions lately? Nope, the latest one was oh wait, the latest one is actually from
Does God exist?
Redeem Zoomer. Proving God exists using math. I feel like this is just going to be repetitive. Like, this is just going to be the same thing as the last one. Yeah, the whole playlist, the whole playlist is just meme songs, except lo-fi. So, yeah. Well, that one already kind of was lo-fi. This one is. Okay, I really want to watch this one. I want to see what Blood's waffling about. Alec Gunter, sorry, Gunter, were you considering going over the Matt Walsh DEI is ruining planes? Is that diversity, equity, inclusion? What's going on with that? We can. I don't have any plans for this evening. Oh, one thing we should go over is the stupid Euphoria Tory shit with Starbucks. I'm sorry. I'm so not into it. It's so stupid. I should do a quick segment on that. Hold on. I got a suggestion. Drop it. Drop it, queen. Drop it, pop it, and lock it. Like it's 1990, fuck it. Yeah, slay. I really gotta
Phones were
figure
so
out.
different back in the day.
Remember?
That's crazy. I'm calling you from the back of a taxi.
Then came.
TV phones?
Yep.
Sorry. I really got to figure out why clicking on things in OBS like gives me a weird, like there's an in-app browser for OBS that it like automatically opens my shit on, and I don't like it. Samurai Champloo ending? Oh, you mean, okay, you mean for the music playlist. I got you. I just found a meme playlist. That's all I did. I'm not really looking to add to it. Okay. Starbucks, bring your own cup promo. Okay, I don't know a whole lot about this yet, so hold on. Let me figure out exactly what's happening. Are you a fellow Voshite? I am indeed. Let me figure out exactly what's happening. So apparently there's a strike, not a strike, a boycott going on with Starbucks that I'm not participating in, by the way. I don't give a shit. Ugh. Okay, so apparently Starbucks promotes Zionism. Is that what it is? Starbucks are begging for forgiveness, having... Here, hold on.
Starbucks is begging the world for forgiveness. That is what the CEO of Starbucks have said after he announced the losses of Starbucks in 1 month, which are 11
$11 billion is nothing to them. Starbucks stocks stonks. Seems we're down, except for 5:40 p.m. It went way up. See, 1 month, 6 months, year to date. Well, I guess that'd only be a couple days, huh? 1 year. So it went up and then way down and then down and then up again. So it seems to just be following. Yeah, I'm sorry. This is the 5-year, and I'm sorry. Like, that might be like 1/3 of monthly profit. Isn't it, though? That's a quarter of Twitter. Good point. I love Vosh. White Run Guard. Okay. So from 5 years ago, their stocks are definitely up. It went down after 2020, obviously. And then it went up and then back down and then up again. Yeah, so if you're just looking at like the 1 month, this might look bad, but like this is nothing because this is over 5 years. Okay? Sorry, you guys can't see it that well. Okay, I think I got what I need for the segment, basically. Well, let me look up one more thing. Starbucks CEO begs for forgiveness. I want to see if that's real. Oh, interesting. It's not. Okay, we're just going to do it. Fuck it, we do it live. That emote's so fast. Oh, sorry. That is really funny that it's that fast. I got to change that manually. I'll do it later. It's funny, so we'll keep it for right now. Okay. Should I? You know what? I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. Do a little zoom. I think that helps. What do you guys think? I think that's better. I know you guys like looking at the wall, but I like looking at me. Okay. I just fill out the camera a little bit more. Okay. So many of you may remember the Budweiser strikes that were going on a while back. I know their actual company name is something else, but basically it's just Bud Light, Budweiser. Nobody was buying it, supposedly, because of the Dylan Mulvaney shit going on. Conservatives were losing their shit, right? So that happened, and then if I could pull it up real quick, which I don't have it pulled up right now, but hold on. Bud Light stocks. Let's take a look. It's Anheuser-Busch. That's what it is. And here, hold on. Anheuser-Busch stock. All right, so it would appear well, where's their stocks? Hold on. Here we go. Okay. Let's look at their 6 months. How about 1 year? There we go. All right, so as you can see here by this giraffe, the stocks, I believe this was the point at which they were all getting upsetty spaghetti about Dylan Mulvaney or something, and then it went right back up to here. This is over a year-long period, so their stocks are right back to where they were from almost a year ago, okay? 5 years, you can see that it's basically stayed about stable. So the reason that I'm showing you guys this is to demonstrate that strikes work. I always get these two mixed up, so forgive me. Boycotts really don't work that well. Okay, they simply don't, because you need a lot of people to stop buying a product in order to make any kind of difference, and you just won't get that many people for something like this. Because first of all, it's a very silly issue. And second of all, people are very habit and behavior driven. Habit driven. And so they don't break their habits easily. You have to really convince them that it's worth breaking their habit. Okay. It would basically have to be such that they go to buy Bud Light and then a spider monkey springs out and rips their face off. That's sometimes how bad it has to be to get somebody to change their routine. It's simply not an easy thing to do. So now we jump forward to today, where we have a bunch of people boycotting Starbucks. Now, I'm not sure exactly why this began. I'm assuming it has something to do with Palestine. I always want to say Palestine. I'm assuming it has something to do with Palestine because Starbucks is Zionist or something, and so people are just boycotting it, and apparently it's going very well. So let's see what this person has to say. Who are they? Looks like Keyhan950 on TikTok has something to say about the CEO apparently begging for people. Oh, he's on his knees pleading. Please, daddy customer, mommy customer, please come back. Please, please.
Starbucks is begging the world for forgiveness. That is what the CEO of Starbucks have said after he announced the losses of Starbucks in 1 month, which are $11 billion in 1 month. And he also announced that Starbucks might face
now $11 billion in 1 month. So, I have the stocks pulled up.
Bankruptcy soon. And of course, all of that is due to the boycotts that the pro-Palestinians are doing to Starbucks after Starbucks have announced its full support to Israel in the beginning of this genocide. And also the whole company of Starbucks have announced that they are ready to donate money to Palestine, and they are also ready to support the Palestinians.
Okay, they can donate a small amount to Palestine and it doesn't mean anything. Businesses do that all the time. They do it for tax write-offs as well as just public image. That doesn't mean anything if they send money to Palestine. And also, I think it's really hard actually to send money to Palestine. So I don't know how true that is.
And of course, all of that are because of the boycotts and because the company is almost collapsing. And if you don't remember, let me remind you. In the beginning of this genocide, after the 7th of October, Starbucks have announced that they are fully supporting Israel and all the money is going to Israel.
Yeah, almost collapsing.
And that Starbucks is against Palestine.
The local Starbucks the two that are by my house, very close to each other, are both in shambles. They're both in flames.
And the Palestinians. And that CEO, the same exact CEO who is begging for forgiveness now, is the guy who announced in a press conference that he is gonna forever stand against Palestine and the Palestinians, and Starbucks is forever a pro-Israeli company. And now this guy and his company are begging us for forgiveness and to end the boycott on his company. So imagine the power that we have. Just by boycotting, we have changed the whole company strategy, and now they are begging us for forgiveness. Just remember that we are very strong. We just need to unite.
Okay, so I don't disagree with that last point on its face, that if we work together, we can, make the, power of friendship, right? But the thing is, like I said, boycotts generally don't take off like that because people favor convenience, okay? So let's take a look at Starbucks stonks, okay? So this is over the past 5 days. You can see it's down to $91 US. Over the past month, it's down. So if you're just looking at the past month, you can see that, you might be led to believe, oh, Starbucks stonks are doing really bad. They're in the shitter, right? Look at the line go down. Line go down. It go down. Look, see? Oh, soy. Oh, line go down. Oh, we did it. We did it, guys. Oh, we did it. We did it, Reddit. Good job. We did it, Reddit. We did it, right? Let's take a look at 6 months, shall we? So this is the 6-month line. And you can see that it was actually lower in about October. Yeah, October 3rd of last year. This is where it hit its low right here in the past 6 months. And it still has not gone past that point. Now, it is still on the decline, to be fair. Let's look at the last year, shall we? Now, if you're looking at the last year, okay, you know, like, still, I don't think that the boycott affected this pattern. You know, like this, like, they didn't start boycotting Starbucks a year ago. So I don't think the boycott affected this whole pattern. Now, if you look at 5 years, this is where you really kind of start getting the idea. Sorry, you guys can't see any of this shit. I'm sorry. Let me move all this over to here. Here, I'll show you one more time, especially for Dubsy, because I know they'll be editing this. So you got the 5-day right there. 1 month. 6 months. And 1 year. Okay? And once you look at the 5-year graph, you can see that it's simply... It goes all over the place. Okay? A boycott is not going to get this graph to go overnight. Okay? Or in a month, or even in a year. It's simply not going to happen. That's not how it works. Okay? Nonetheless, people are catching flack on Twitter for this. There was this person, so this person, I don't know who they are, Taps Mike. Just think, is it okay? So Starbucks, quote unquote, bring your own cup promo is so that people can secretly buy their products without having to outwardly display their logo, thus having everyone know they don't truly support the boycott. I don't know to what extent this is true, and I don't care. I really don't. They continue here. Notifications are heating up. So before I mute this, please remember, rivers are made of millions of drops of water, and every drop counts. Your action, no matter how small you might think they are, matter. The baby steps you take towards creating a better world are still steps, damn it. That's right. True. And that's not wrong. Okay, I do stand by that. I believe that fully. But again, this isn't the way to do this. Okay? I think this is silly. I think that if you're going to take effective action against Starbucks, it's not going to be through a bunch of people doing a boycott. Okay? It's simply not going to happen. Yeah, it's stop the vote brain, exactly. Yeah, stop the count. Stop the count. Okay. So, Euphoria Tory. Now we're getting into the meat of this. Euphoria Tory, aka Victoria, retweets this and says, honestly, I don't give a fuck about this boycott. I'm going to keep buying Starbucks, Lamau. And she caught a lot of flack. A lot of flack. You can see it's 1.6K reposts. A lot of those are probably quote tweets. A lot of comments here as well. Okay. It was so bad, in fact, that it caused her to have to mute her account or lock it or whatever. So let me see if I can find what I had up. Okay, let's see what Vosh had to say about it real quick, because I like Vouch.
I heard those ships were carrying Starbucks coffee. I don't know, maybe the Houthis have a point. It's so fucking bad out there, man. I have a mutual on Twitter who said, like, I don't care about the boycott. I'm going to get some Starbucks. And they had like 2,000 quote tweets of people saying like, wow, you know, you've personally murdered 50 Palestinians, huh? Wow, fuck you. I hope you die. Like insane over Starbucks, again, a company that doesn't exist in Israel and doesn't give money to Israel.
Yeah, that's the other thing. They literally don't give money to Israel.
Absolutely psychotic. Do they not realize Starbucks doesn't even operate? No, nobody does. Nobody on the left does. It's a completely like hallucinatory boycott. Like this is legitimately the left acting with Starbucks the way the right acted with Bud Light, except at least Bud Light did pay for an Instagram advert with Dylan Mulvaney, you know? Whereas like the left is saying like Starbucks gives money to Israel when they object, they fucking don't. They don't. That's not.
Also, have you guys ever seen where coffee beans are like sourced from? Like, I'm sorry, they're already doing war crimes overseas.
True, that's not true at all. You know, like it's totally made up. It's hallucinating. It's completely hallucinatory. You know,
capitalism. It's all war crimes. Always has been. There's another one. Hold on. Yeah, so I posted this. If you're genuinely upset at people still buying Starbucks and you're not a real leftist, you're an internet LARPer and a whiner. I've gone out and done the real work. Not a lot, but some. What the hell have you done but complain about other people not doing enough? Sorry, not shake my damn. It's actually suck my dick is what that means. And I stand by that. I guess I'll end this because this is already getting longer than I meant it to be. If you want to boycott Starbucks, I don't have any problems with that. I don't think that's a bad thing to do. I think Starbucks is, like most major corporations, is terrible. Okay, the things they do are terrible. The way they source their products and make their products is terrible. And treat their employees, even in first world countries like the United States, it's all awful, okay? So for whatever reason you want to boycott Starbucks, personally, absolutely go for it, okay? What I don't want is this shit. I don't want people like shitting on other leftists for not boycotting Starbucks. Like that's going to change the fucking world, okay? It's simply not. As I said, I have gone out and done real work that has made not much of an impact, granted, but a little bit. I feel like I've had a little bit of an impact, okay? As a treat. You know, I've gone to school board meetings. I've gone to the Board of Education in Columbus, okay? I went there several times, 3 times, okay, to speak. And all I'm doing at these things is speaking. I'm not like, you know, doing crazy hard work. I've also done a couple of phone banks, at least one phone bank, okay? So the point being, I've done work. This is not real work. Pestering your fellow leftist, your fellow progressive, to not buy any more coffee from the Happy Coffee place is not real work. Okay, I'm sorry. It's simply not. If you want to help, when I posted this thing, I was not understanding what the boycott was for. I thought it was like a union thing. But if you want to help the cause, find a fund that like you can give, like a verified fund who's sending aid to Palestine. Now, there's a lot of fakes out there, so be careful. But like, also, there's really not that much we can do right now to help Palestine. There's simply not. And I hate being a doomer, guys, but honestly, all we can really do is sit back and watch. As far as, it's virtue signaling. As far as like these companies who come out in support of Israel, again, you can stop buying their products if it's distasteful to you now, personally. But you're not doing us any favors by like being this shrieking liberal, demanding that everybody else not buy the coffee. It's not good for us, optically or otherwise. It doesn't do anything but hurt us. So if you want to go out and do actual work, go speak at these local meetings like I've always told you guys to do, right? Your city council and school board meetings. It doesn't have to be about Palestine. They can't do anything about Palestine. But, leftism is a collective project. It encompasses a ton of things, actually. It can be overwhelming at times. So even if you can't help the people in Palestine, maybe you can help people closer to you, There are downtrodden communities all over the United States. I've seen at least one personally, a really bad one that I went on a field trip to while I was in college. It sucked ass, and it was right after I broke up with my girlfriend, which was even worse, which made it even worse. And they are garbage areas. There's such garbage areas to live in, out in the middle of fucking nowhere, with no running water sometimes, in trailers that haven't been renovated. Like, it gets really bad. Point being, they did not give any money to Israel, okay, as far as I know. Point being, if you want to do actual work, if you really are committed to the cause, committed to change, go work at a fucking soup kitchen, okay? Go work at a clothing distribution center, all right? Go fold clothes or organize clothes, or there's a paint thing that I did once. We just like poured paint into big it was paint into big buckets to send over to Africa, so they have paint. Same thing with soap. All right, there are all kinds of things you can do to help both domestically and overseas. But bitching online about other people not doing enough for your liking is not helping. So shut the fuck up, and if you want to complain, at least go out and do some work while you do it. That's all I have to say about it. The impact of talking at a school board versus boycotting some $7 coffee isn't even comparable. I mean, yeah, I went viral for some reason. So, I had a lot of DMs in my inbox saying, hey, man, not a lot. It was like maybe like not more than 10. But I had a few, and they were like, "Hey, listen, you know, I live in a state that is against trans rights, and I really appreciate you." Blah blah blah. You know, like it's nice. And so even people just seeing that helped them. But do you condemn Hamas? I do condemn Hamas sometimes. I do like that kink. All right, enough of that. I want to have some fun. See, now I feel like I'm too low when I do this. Whatever.
Burger King.
Thank you for subscribing, Possible Psychopath. Appreciate you. As long as it's just possible. Not confirmed.
2 + 2 is 4. -1, that's 3. Quick maths. Everyday man's on the block. Smoke trees.
These screaming fucking woke goals are just as bad, if not worse, than Stalinists. They're liberals. They're shrieking liberals. Oh yeah, White Renguard. I know you were joking. Don't worry. I love that emote. It's too bad it's so small. Okay. You know what I actually want to watch? I want to watch Sam Hyde and Brett Cooper talk about Lady Ballers. That's what I want to do. Yeah, Sam Hyde and Brett Cooper. Lady Ballers. Many are calling it the cinematic masterpiece of the century. Those people would be wrong, of course. The movie sucks ass, as we've gone over in 3 videos actually. But the first one was about the trailer, so that doesn't count. But I like it. I like going over the videos that talk about it because I want to see what my opposition is saying. I like to, stay in the know about what they're saying. Okay, these are also very good for the algorithm, which helps my numbers. So that's the other reason that I'm doing this. But this interesting fellow named Sam Hyde, who, if you don't know who that is, I only have a loose idea. He's like this weirdo, like this Nazi weirdo, who is completely cloaked in irony from top to bottom, and you never know if what he's saying is actually what he believes or not, right? And he, the only reason I know about him is because of iDubbbz doing a documentary on him, which was really good, by the way. You should go watch that if you have not already. But if you don't know who that is, it's because he's hiding. Nice. But he and Brett Cooper, and if you don't know who Brett Cooper is, it's basically just Fem Ben Shapiro, right? Fem Shapiro. So he and Brett Cooper decided to do a review of Lady Ballers, much like I did. And I would like to know very much what their opinion was. So I think it'll be funny. Without further ado.
I'm doing it for my daughter.
Who need... Well, what the fuck?
It's so quiet.
Oh, it's a parody. Wow. Yeah, but this is like a parody this is not the kind of parody you want to be doing, bro. This is like Steven Crowder spanking
himself.
No, he's spanking Brian Callen.
Oh.
Ooh. Dude, this is not the type of parody you want to be doing, brother.
Why is my camera better than his?
Day 1 of being a girl athlete, I've already eaten a whole pint of pistachio ice cream, given up on parallel parking twice.
Wait, he didn't even watch it? They're just looking at the...
Started washing down benzodiazepines with rosé. I love being a girl. How'd I do, ladies?
Lady Ballers.
Also, gotta say, those actors had way too much fun.
Streaming exclusively on Daily Wire Plus December 1st.
The Tim Pool vid is funny. You'll have to link it.
That's pretty nuts.
Now, is this this is bad enough if this is like a parody trailer.
But if it's actual,
did they make an actual show?
Can't be.
Why does his setup look like Hasanabi's?
I mean, there is
Sense and Sensibility, and started washing down benzodiazepines with rosé. I love being a girl. How'd I do, ladies?
Is this the upload?
streaming exclusively on Daily Wire Plus.
Pain.
We got Rocco's Modern Life with $25. I'm 30, living on savings, burnt out after dealing with.
Oh my goodness. Oh, they made a movie.
Yeah? I thought we were going to watch his review of it.
Yiga what?
In a world
I want to see how he
where
reacts.
women's sports is being transformed, the Daily Wire calls foul with the most triggering comedy of the year.
Yeah, get it? Transformed. Get it? You get it? You get it yet? You get it? You get the joke yet? You get it?
Guys, this is serious. Sports can be your pathway to a better life.
He does, Queen Laura.
Please don't steal my catalytic
The
converter
con
again.
room.
Winning matters. It's the key ingredient in becoming a winner.
Maybe you should try it sometime. Are you gonna move?
I am not.
Let's cut to the chase. I know you're not a woman.
Hey, you know how he identifies.
If you can beat them,
What do you know about the U.S. Opens for the Global Games?
You want us to compete as women.
It was incredibly misogynistic, though.
A woman on the
I love
court
gender
and
fluid.
a man in the bedroom. I can't believe it. Nice.
You mean when you're sleeping?
Yes.
Look at his
Wow,
face.
there's like the.
We could play basketball.
That was like the. The
We're in.
wholesome.
I'm in.
to play.
Lady Ballers. Man up.
This dude kind of looks like that, the wilderness guy. Look.
That was like the. The
We're in.
wholesome.
I'm in.
He kind of looks like him. Sam Hyde does, right? Like it's the same archetype. It was very horny. We already talked about that.
Like a girl.
I'm with her.
Comedy needs to be in Jupiter-sized quotation marks. I don't know what else you would categorize it as except just bad. It was just flat out bad. That's what it was.
From heroes
Day one of being a girl athlete. I love being a girl.
to sheroes.
We could dominate every woman's sport. Running, swimming, soccer. I said sport, Felix.
Haha, I get it.
It's ladies basketball, boys. Nobody watch.
Also, in a movie about like respecting sports, it's just like, oh, soccer's not a real sport. Oh, okay. It's not like that's the most popular sport in the fucking world or anything. Good job appealing to your audience.
Excuse me.
Oh, look.
These seats open?
Is that Steve Carell?
Never mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
Steve Carell.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
What?
And tucking trunks.
This is a long.
Did they say that Ted Cruz is Steve Carell? Or was Steve Carell's not in this movie? Yeah, okay. Sorry, I had to look up Steve Carell again because I'm really bad at names. He's the Office guy.
Trailer.
Yeah. This is the whole
He
movie.
says the girls, right? That's Steve Carell. The girls.
That's the
Dude.
biggest I've ever seen on a lady.
Was that Abby Shapiro?
And
Hold on a
tucking
second.
trunks.
No, she didn't.
Oh wait, is he just going to be watching Brett Cooper? That's kind of lame.
This is
Brett
Ben
Cooper
Shapiro's
coming
favorite part. Is that her?
No, that's.
Is that Jordan Peterson's daughter?
No, that's the
Oh,
Ben Shapiro like
Ben Shapiro's
okay,
sister?
there's
girl
Brett
lookalike.
Cooper.
It's
Okay.
not Abby. It's her name is
See, I thought that he was going to get on a call with Brett Cooper at some point. Whatever.
Brand. What's her name? Girl lookalike.
Boy, these guys are sensationally boring.
What's her name?
Brett Cooper.
Brett Cooper.
Do they have
Brett.
any commentary, anything to
Oh,
say
they're
about
going
the
heavy
trailer?
with the advertiser here, huh?
I already thought they were doing a whole movie review.
This little guy.
One of the most prominent Gen Z political political commentators who's quickly grown
This
an
little
audience of
guy.
more than 2.5 million through her outspoken
Who's this little
opposition
guy?
to the woke agenda with the Daily Wire. I guess you might also know her as the female Ben Shapiro.
What surprised me most about this episode was just how shocking her story was and how that led
Shut
to
up, you
For an undergrad, you could go to their grad
silly.
school and do a business program.
You silly little man.
Campaign. Like there was,
He's not adding any content.
I remember
I'm
in my
disappointed.
pitch with Jeremy.
He's supposed to be insane. I thought this would be entertaining.
Really, what?
We got some chats.
What do they want?
They didn't even edit
Rocco's
this
Modern
shit.
Life sends $25. I'm 30, living on savings, burnt out after dealing with software dev jobs. My prospects aren't looking good. Should I do something risky like creative aspirations
Yes,
or
Queen
learn a
Laura, they
trade?
did have that line.
I feel too bitch made for trades though.
I'm 30, living on savings, burnt out after dealing
They
with
just
software
read
dev
that!
jobs, prospects not looking too good.
Does this
Is
get
everywhere. You
interesting
can-
at any
When
point?
his dad died young, instead of taking responsibility, which was expected as eldest son, any tips on positioning myself?
Well, first of all, this is like a sexy version of this guy. Now, is
What?
this a biological woman?
What?
Or am I going to regret saying that? Brett. Its name is Brett.
Its
Who is this
name?
guy?
Holy shit.
It's literally just Ben Shapiro in a wig.
Jesus Christ, dude.
It's just Ben Shapiro makeup.
This is the same guy though.
How?
Ah!
Why wasn't?
You shouldn't have played
Listen,
with-
I'm no Brett Cooper fan, but she doesn't look bad, okay? She's not ugly.
Sports.
CMO brought me on. Like, hey, I'm the
And if she were, that would be the least atrocious thing about
Okay.
trying to, get the show approved, and
I think you just got to differentiate yourself from your dad. If it's the kind of thing where the family's going to welcome you back in and you can slide back in, just show up with big puffed up shoulder muscles.
What?
And like whatever opposite facial hair from your
he's
dad. If
addressing
he
a
had a
chatter,
beard
I
with no
guess.
mustache, go mustache.
Why would you ever go to Sam Hyde for advice? You do not want to do that. Okay?
with no beard and like dye your hair black and just
Like
be
going to
physically
Sonic
the
the
opposite of
Hedgehog
him.
For
If he
tips on how to not become a fetish object.
had a lazy sort of tired expression, try to look fiery and alert all the
Yeah.
time, or vice versa. If he was that way,
Yeah.
just be lazy and laid back all the time. Just be the opposite visually.
Switch it up.
People believe their eyes. They're not. If you show up.
And in case anyone was in doubt about it, this is proof that trans misogyny is just misogyny. Exactly. No, it is a specific type of misogyny, but it all rolls together and they usually overlap. Trans misogyny is a form of it, and it usually overlaps with cis misogyny because they're all, they're all sourced from the same supplier.
Muscly, and dress like you're going to the Charlottesville riot.
What is this video?
Collar shirt, khaki pants, or just dress the opposite of your dad. Show up, be strong, reliable, dress the opposite of your dad, and just make an
Did he bring
impression.
up Charlottesville to be edgy? Like, cool, dude. Good job.
Make an impression
I'm so
for yourself.
offended.
We got TY with 20.
This is this trailer. You know what this is? This is when you're in love. This is when you cut the trailer yourself, you don't pass it off to somebody who doesn't care. You pass it off to somebody who doesn't care, and they're going to go through and find the highlights and cut it down to the 1.5 minutes. A person who specifically cuts trailers, they know how to do it. But if you have the main editor, or worse yet, the main editor with Ben Shapiro watching over your shoulder, that's because the main editor's like, oh, this is good. We can't get rid of this in the trailer. And then Ben Shapiro's like, yeah, well, make sure we put in the part where there's a girl that looks like me. And then the end result is a fucking 5-minute long trailer.
Wait, is he saying that the trailer is too long? First of all, it's not. It's an average size trailer. Okay, again, I have many critiques of the movie, but that is not one of them. All right? But, like, also, is he just upset that, like, Fem Shapiro was on there? Was that his grudge? Because that's what I took from that. Like, I can't understand what he's saying.
That's the biggest I've ever seen on a lady.
Do you think bisexual women should be silenced? No. Why would I think that?
That's the money shot right there. When the old guy that's taking money from Israel pops out and says, that's the biggest dick I've ever seen.
Lady Ball.
That's the money shot right there.
We got
Trans Age Now, which provides Sheelix with a wonderful opportunity to relive all the experiences
We
that
are
she
annoying?
missed out on in school.
That's messed up.
That's the biggest I've ever seen.
You're allowed
We
to be
got
annoying.
So I spent a few
It's not
days.
illegal. Oh, that might be for a different segment. But yeah, that was a thing. That is one of the videos of all time. You guys want to watch Shoe on Heads? I feel like my whole channel is just going to be a Lady Ballers channel. A white woman jump scare. Indeed. I feel like Shoes is gonna mostly agree though. I feel like it's not gonna be very exciting. Here, let me see.
So I spent the hype. This movie was kind of milquetoast. Honestly, the people calling it like super bigoted and transphobic are giving them way too much credit. And maybe I'm just really online, but I've seen trans people make jokes on Twitter about trans people that were more edgy and offensive than this movie. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Comedies from the early 2000s, they were not targeted towards a certain.
Yeah, okay, she says exactly the same things that I did. I'm not gonna waste my time.
And I'm doing it for my daughter.
I thought about watching this one. Because this guy's like Friends as a dog whistle. I want to talk about that. And they're funny jokes because trans people know what it is they critique. No, I've talked about that too. Like, trans people, when they make jokes about trans people, or if you're an ally and you make a trans joke, it's usually much more funny than a conservative. You forgot who I am? Oh, right, Tina. Right. Sorry. I knew your name looked familiar. Hello, Tina. You gotta remember, I'm not good at names. Welcome in. All right, so dog whistles they're important to know. If somebody makes a dog whistle and you recognize it, you should, understand what you're hearing and then take appropriate action, whatever that might be. If you're in the workplace, sometimes that can mean like addressing it with that person directly or going to your boss or something. If you don't know what a dog whistle, by the way, is, a dog whistle is basically anytime you say something that is implied to be racist, right? The implication is racist. But the words themselves may not be. For instance, a popular dog whistle is black on black crime, right? If somebody's saying, well, cops are disproportionately killing and injuring black people, which is true, and then they say, well, what about the black on black crime in Chicago? What about that, huh? Nobody ever talks about that. 1350 is another great dog whistle. What that means is 13% of the population, black people, make up 50% of the criminals. Which is not true. They make up 50% of the arrests, I believe, which just speaks to systemic racism. But even if you were to take that stat as completely 100% true, you would still have to force the other person would still be forced to admit that what they're implying is that black people are somehow more prone to commit violent crime, right? Or crime in general. Which black people do commit more crime, but that is a result of systemic racism and their economic circumstances more often than not, right? So anyway, the reason that we're talking about dog whistles is because this person decided to talk about the dog whistle of Friends, F-R-E-N-S. Apparently that's a dog whistle. Now, I've only ever heard of the word friends used from like Uwu Small Bean type people, as a stand-in for friends, F-R-I-E-N-D-S. So I don't think that, I don't see this being a dog whistle, but we'll give him a chance. So let's take a look.
Hello
that looks
there.
interesting.
My name's Card. I'm a long-time progressive community organizer and activist.
And today,
Hello.
I just wanted to briefly talk about a reactionary dog whistle that's been around for a few years now, as well as what it really means and who's using it.
Seems like he's not a bad-looking dude, but it does seem like he's kind of staring into my soul, you know? I wish he would back away from the camera just a little bit, or like put something in the background, you know what I mean? Like right now, it looks like he's about to, you know, pull out some power tools and experiment on my body, you know?
For those who might not know, in politics, a dog whistle is a word, a phrase, or a symbol which seems perfectly innocent and innocuous to most people,
Right,
but
right.
which really communicates a more sinister hidden message to those in the know. There'll also be a playlist of videos of mine at the top of the description, which goes into detail about all sorts of dog whistles and how to spot them.
Fine.
Today,
I guess you are my
specifically,
little pog champ.
I wanted to talk about
Thank
the
you, secular
term
pagan man.
friends and how it's become a contemporary reactionary meme. When online alt-right sympathizers aren't hanging out in their own private web forums, they're on more mainstream sites like Twitter and Reddit, where they typically need to mask what they're talking about.
Right.
To that end, there's a lot of terms they use that are simple misspellings of normal everyday words, but which carry a vastly more malicious...
Fun fact, the Neopets NFT project got in trouble with the community by using the word friends in promotional material. Is it that bad? I've only ever seen people use it like funny. You know what I mean? Like a meme. Here, let's do a quick experiment. The whole reason I'm watching this is because I think it's silly. It is that bad? No, it's not. It's like hen low. Okay, that's what you meant, Somniostatic. Got it. Good night, friends. From Happy New Tire. Pro climate change, pro fossil fuels, pro nuclear power, anti. Okay. Well, I have no reading on this, guys. All I want is peace and coziness. Okay. Friends from Pokemon Gems. A late good morning, me friends. Me sleep in today, but is fubbin' Friday. We made it. Introvert. 99 plus unread messages, unfinished projects, unfulfilled childhood ambitions, crippling mental state. Casino friend. A friend that has fun on the internet machine. Autistic friend area. Looks pretty cozy. I mean, yeah, it does. These are kind of funny to me. I can't tell like what this person's. See, I can't tell what their politics are. It just doesn't seem that that bad to me. Oh shit. What is happening? It could be hiding a fart with a cough style where the dog whistle is wedged into the normal context it's used in. Maybe. By the way, that's how you disarm a dog whistle, like we did with the frog. Use it in non-dog whistle ways. Yeah, I just like I don't think that it. See, if you're scared of a dog whistle, you know, like here's the thing, a dog whistle like 1350, right? You can't really reclaim that because it started off as a racist claim. But something like friends is a artificial connection between, you know, a word that doesn't mean anything and racism or some kind of bigotry. So if it is true that that word is being used in that way by some people, you can reclaim that word. Same with Pepe, exactly. It didn't actually have any intrinsic ties to racism. It's just that racists started using it and making horrific memes with it. Okay? So you can reclaim something like friends. You know, it's the same thing as Pepe. Okay? I just don't see it being used in a bad way, from what I can tell. Okay? Let's see what he has to say.
Fren, spelt F-R-E-N, is the example. It's a misspelling of the word friend, obviously. But when one of these online alt-right people uses it in online conversation, they're actually trying to signal their political beliefs to other reactionaries who are in on what the term means.
Really? I just don't see that. Like, there might be a few of them doing it, but I don't see like some weird far-right conspiracy theorist Nazi in his mom's basement clicky-clacking being like, What is up, my friends? Do you want to talk about Nazi shit? Like, I don't see that. It seems too cutesy.
It came straight out of image board sites like 8chan and 4chan's poll board.
Ah, good old 8chan.
It's designed to be a way for people who normally use those sorts of sites to spot one another elsewhere.
This came out 9 days ago, by the way.
With a degree of plausible deniability, if or when they ever get called out for it. Because friend and friends might just seem like innocuous, cutesy internet slang if you don't know better. It's also worth noting that within some online alt-right circles, FREN is understood to stand for far-right ethno-nationalist. Another nod to what the people who come up with these things believe.
Okay, when I type, hello friend, okay, I'm not thinking, yes, that's the acronym for far-right ethno-nationalist. I am such a genius. Like, what? I think that's how it originally started. It's a backronym. You would be hard-pressed to convince me that that's how it originally started. You know what I mean? I don't know about that. I don't know. Like, okay, I could be wrong, but it seems very silly.
And promote to others.
It does seem like a backronym.
Using the word friend to signal one another and referring to one another as friend.
Yeah, exactly. He's talking about this like it's brand new. Okay? He's the Internet Explorer of dog whistles.
Also ties into the way, oddly enough, a lot of online alt-right people seem to love to play into using almost baby-like phonetic spellings of words and type as if they're sheepish toddlers.
Well, that's the point of a dog whistle, isn't it? Those who get it, and those who don't just think it's a meme. Yes, but here's the problem. If you have a dog whistle that's not intrinsically tied like this, right? This is technically a white power dog whistle, but it also is just an okay sign, okay? So if everybody's doing this all the time, you don't know who's actually a white nationalist. You know what I mean? So that's because there's no intrinsic tie between this and white nationalism. It's too diluted. Thank you. Exactly. So if everybody starts saying, if it may have started as a white nationalist thing, okay? But if everybody starts saying friends, F-R-E-N-S, as like a cutesy thing, then the white nationalists can no longer tell who's using it to say, hey, I'm a white nationalist. And guess what's going to happen if they go up to some uwu cutesy trans girl and say, oh, I saw you say friends on Twitter the other day when talking about your stuffed animals. Hello, white nationalist, fellow white nationalist. How do you do? Like, what? It doesn't work.
Something. To say it's because reactionaries are just inherently repressed or something would probably be speculative. But for whatever reason, it is something they do. So it's worth keeping in mind. Because if you see someone type like that online, it could be a red flag. And you might want to keep a closer eye on them if all of a sudden they're showing up in online spaces they weren't before.
I guess, but like, how about just this? Like, if you see people being racist, just call it out. If you see people being bigoted, just call it out. You don't have to be looking for these dog whistles. You know, like your Inspector Gadget, Go-Go Gadget dog whistle finder.
Or trying to get into debates in comment sections somewhere or something like that. This
right, there are much
talk
better ones to
stuff
look for.
Isn't necessarily the most offensive thing they could be typing. But make no
Yeah, so here's the thing. Okay, so here's what is a good dog whistle for me, right? Let me think of a good one. So let's say that I'm like browsing Twitter and I see somebody say something like, you know, okay, look at all this crime going on in Chicago, and then they like post a video of like a black dude, you know, some black homeless guy beating up a white woman. Okay, this happens all the time on Twitter these days. They'll just post a video like that and then be like, "The West is dead." You know, the West is a great one. Okay, the West is actually a perfect dog whistle. Now that I think about it. If somebody is referring to America and Europe and like white thugs is a great one, Lady Nova. Like if somebody is referring to like all the white countries as like the West, but they don't include Mexico in that or anything, you know, because they're not the West for some reason, even though they're literally in the West. If they're saying that, then they are probably a white nationalist. Okay, that's a good one to look out for. Saying like, oh, we need to save the West, or like, we need to close the borders is another good one. Now that could be just a run-of-the-mill conservative voter, but close the border is, depending on how fervent they are about it, that can be one. Yeah, so those are really the dog whistles I'm looking out for. Not people like posting this. Like, there might be some goofball here and there who's doing that, but like, what is that doing? What are they accomplishing with that? All they do is look silly at best.
Mistake, they're still people you don't want around. So it's best not to engage with them. And better still, if it's in your power to do so,
this is silly.
Prevent them from hanging around at all. To that end, if you see someone using these sorts of terms online or elsewhere, prevent them from feeling welcome or like they're free to try pulling this sort of thing.
Because I'm a meathead doesn't
If
mean
this
I'm not
guy
a
is
feminist.
unironically looking for dog whistles this hard, he doesn't strike me as somebody that I particularly want to hang out around, because I feel like I'd be walking on eggshells the entire time. You know what I mean? I don't want to coalition build with this asshole, because he's probably, like, I don't know for sure, but based on this video, the impression I'm getting is that this guy cannot take a punch, metaphorically, okay? Like, he just can't. If you don't speak exactly the way that he wants you to, then he will not allow you to be around him. You know what I mean? Or like, he'll correct you or something. Like, it seems weird. Gives the bad vibes. You could misspell friend once and get permit, yeah. Or like, it's another thing is like, my sibling just recently left an LGBTQ server because they said like, oh, don't ever say the word triggered in a derogatory fashion, even if it's against conservatives, because we don't want to use the weapon of the enemy. This is the weapon of the enemy. No. I'm sorry. It's just, it's too liberal for me. It's too libby. Gross.
For the sake of keeping you and yours safe, please just keep it in mind and keep your eyes open to this sort of thing. Once again, my name's Card. If you might want to hear more from me, especially more about...
Yeah, no, that was very silly. Like I said, dog whistles are a real thing, and they are important to look out for, but something like Friends, that's way outdated. There might be something like that going around. I really don't know. But if they're using that to signal to each other, using it might actually benefit us, because that way they can't signal to each other anymore if it gets too diluted. That's why they constantly have to keep flipping these signals that they have. You know what I mean? Once it was this, now, like, once it was Friends, they always have to change it because the general public is using it as well, so they can't signal to each other if you use it. Dog whistles, again, that I look out for are things like, oh, the people from Chicago, the thugs, the drug peddlers coming in across the border or some shit, right? Like, those are the dog whistles I look out for. Do those always mean that somebody's a white nationalist? No. But it usually is a good sign that they're at least not on your side. So that's my little spiel on dog whistles. Don't be like this guy. Don't make people around you walk on eggshells. If you're telling your friends unironically that, like, hey, sweaty, using the term friends is actually a big no-no around me, and it's going to trigger me, and because I saw this card posting video that said, no, don't want anything to do with you. I have no time. Sorry. Agreed, it's just really off-putting. Yeah, it's just like, why would I waste my time with you? There's another one I wanted to watch. Oh yeah, this will be fun. I think.
Contextually, things are different.
I'm going through this guy's videos because I had this one, woke localizers fail at their one job inserting propaganda, but I kind of want to scroll through real quick. We have a job opening. So I found these guys, and they look funny. Not Shadiversary. Is that what this is? Shadiversary? I thought it was just Night's Watch. I think I'll just stick with this one. The one I have open. Let me look through one more time. Shadiversary is the one in the ring mail hoodie. Oh, the ring mail. You mean the chain mail? Or is it ring mail? Yeah, I guess it'd be ring mail. Yeah. These types do nothing for the left. One time I used black instead of African American and they all gasped. What? Black is the accepted term now. And it includes people who are not American. Black is a descriptor for skin color. If you get triggered by me saying the word black, fuck you. I don't care if you're black or not. I'm allowed to say that. I know that. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Yeah, we're on the same page. Yeah, even if they're a black person, they're like, you can't say the word black. Yeah, fuck off. It's a descriptor, dumbass. Yeah, I see all colors and they're all beautiful. I will tell him, Tina. Thank you, I will. Yeah, I don't see anything better than this one. Ooh, Disney... Well, that's from 2 months ago. This one's going to be more relevant. It's fine. Tina, what do you think of the new camera setup? Looks pretty swag, doesn't it? Where's Winry? She doesn't let me pick her up. Like, she does sometimes, but just not, you know, anymore. But yeah. Yeah, so looks pretty good, I think. Hold on, I gotta get a drink real quick. I'll be right back.
I said, babes, man's not hot. I said, man's not hot. I said, man's not hot. The girl told me, take off your jacket. I said, babes, man's not hot. Pop out the 4-door with the 4-4. It was 1, 2, 3, and 4. Chilling in the corridor. Your dad is 44, and he's still calling man for a draw. Let him know. When I see him, I'm gonna
okay, I'm back.
Jaw. Take my tricks by.
We'll just be right back. It's a little faster than I thought. Show me Winry, I know where you live. Listen, I can't pick her up right now. She's, okay, you know what my setup looks like. She's sitting on those stools that are beneath the table in the corner. I cannot get her. If I try to, she will claw at me, okay? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. All right, let's do this. So I just came across this video from a channel called Night's Watch, and I thought it looked interesting, specifically because they used the word woke unironically in the title, and that's always a good sign. Woke localizers fail at their one job, inserting propaganda. And the thumbnail has, you can see it in the corner here, it's a little, or the side, it's a little small. It has a anime girl on it, which is from Dragon Maid, I think, which is a really weird one, honestly. I did not get into it. So, but they're about to. So let's join them. Let's watch. Let's go.
Welcome back to The Watch. And guys, we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects.
What's that?
Wow. They all look like me at different stages of my beard. If I had hair.
You should be
Politics?
No.
AI art?
AI, yeah.
Okay.
Actually, I guess AI art is one of my favorite, but this isn't actually AI art. This is just AI.
Localizers, nice.
Other applications of AI technology and a controversy surrounding it regarding translations of anime into English called localization. You guys heard anything about this?
Yes.
Little
We
bit?
have, yes.
Yeah, I've watched anime before, so yeah.
I am someone who personally prefers original Japanese.
You're a sub guy?
I like subs. Yeah.
I'm a dub
and
guy.
and I know just enough Japanese
I
to be
like
like,
dub.
I think I know what they said if I'm not looking at the TV screen.
I'm a dub guy because I'm lazy. I mean, I can enjoy something easily fun with
Same.
subtitles, but dubs are just easier, and sometimes
dubs are
you do
easier.
a good
I
job
agree.
on them. That's the key. A good job. You want a good job.
We're on the same page
Rurouni
so
Kenshin,
far.
The dubs really well done. I think the dubs for the most part in Dragon Ball Z really well done, and I end up becoming attached to the voice of that character. Like Goku, he has a voice to me, and I actually think the English voice is better than the Japanese voice. Doesn't a girl do Goku's voice?
Yeah. Oh.
I know where the young one. version
Yeah,
is, I
yeah,
think
yeah.
it's a girl.
It is a very different voice from
Yeah, really
the
different. and
dub
much
to the
higher
Japanese.
pitched, and I prefer
All right, get to the
English
point. Let's
voice
go.
of Goku way more.
I agree in this specific case because I grew up watching the dubs as a child.
But
We didn't have that.
If you've ever seen like the Goku when he's shouting like
I swear,
you
if
hear the
this
Japanese version,
gets me a copyright strike or whatever,
Goku's this tank
not a strike,
martial art.
but you know.
Anyways, there is a job that people perform because there's a job for everything, and one of those is translating something from Japanese to
All right,
English.
let's go.
Because, you know,
Which, by the way, I've heard accusations before that woke translators are doing shit. Like the big one that I know of is in the One Piece community. There's a big schism about a character named Yamato, who is essentially a trans man in the English dub, but I guess in Japan it's a little bit more obscure, like what it is. But basically, this character identifies very heavily with a male, so the character's born female, and he identifies very heavily with somebody named Odin, okay? And he wants to literally be Odin, okay? And in the absence of that, I don't think that he would be like a trans man, but it doesn't matter what the reason is for why you identify the way you identify. And the bottom line is, in the dub, he goes by he, him pronouns. He uses the men's facilities. He is called a man by all of the characters. He is called son by Kaido, his dad. And I just don't see any other option than to call him a trans man, you know? But people blame the translators. They're like, oh no, the woke translators put that shit in there. Ugh. But, you know, again, like there are literal panels of Yamato using the men's bathroom at the same time as the men. Like when I say bathroom, I mean a literal bath, right? They're all in the bath together. And he's in there with the men. So, you know. Anyway.
we need to know what they're saying.
Well, they call it localizations because when you're trying to take something from one language to another, a word-for-word translation.
Specifically, two very different languages, like let's say English and Japanese, where contextually things are different. That's like an important caveat here. This isn't like going from Canadian to American or something. I'm joking, but like there are some languages that can go one to one, and then there are some where it's like they have gendered words, they have different contextual things behind word. Like sometimes it can be very tricky.
Yes, and so that's why it's called localization, because you're actually trying to convey the meaning. That's the key. It should be the meaning.
trans woman from
of
the same
original
arc,
intent of the original words in that language. And so sometimes there's going to be difficulties. Like, for instance, if they have like puns that are based off of words that say like shit.
This
shit,
is
shit,
all
something like that,
true.
and you have a pun that's something like that. You can't translate if those puns don't have the same thing.
Yeah, there was a really funny one. So here's a good example of that. Eiichiro Oda, the guy who wrote One Piece, was asked one time, very early on in One Piece, who would win in a fight between Zoro and Sanji, two of the main male characters. And so he answered, wait, did you just ask me who would win in a dick fight between them? And the reason he answered that, it may sound weird to us, but the word for Japanese for dick, the equivalent is similar to the word for fight, I guess, or something like that, something to that effect. I don't remember exactly, but the point is that was the pun that went over a lot of Americans' heads, and so we were just like scratching our heads, like, what the hell? Why would you say that, Gabo?
Rhyming, if there's things that are meant to rhyme in one language, it's not going to. How do you do that?
Yeah, sometimes it rhymes phonetically in English, but then it's not going to rhyme in. It's
Yeah.
going to be different words. Yeah.
And so the intent behind the localization, it can be tricky, but it should be to keep the core, message
yeah.
of what the original
Right.
content is.
I
Unfortunately,
agree with all this so far.
turns out there's a lot of localizations that do not do that.
Let's
In
go. Here we
fact,
go.
they purposely inject woke propaganda
Let's
and
go.
messaging ideology because it's
They
being
inject
done by
it.
people who want to send a message, subverting the original intent of what a lot of these things, and sometimes they will
Give 'em a
do
little
things
woke
inject
enema.
where it's completely unneeded, right? Where there's examples you can see where the translation, someone says this, besides, it's expected for men to have scars. Women must remain delicate. Actually, it sounds Japanese, honestly, that term at times of philosophy. Well, the localizers, they had to make sure that you understand. That sounds kind of silly to me. Are you always this sexist? Is the response that the localized content adds.
There is
I
a
agree.
caveat to this sort of thing that I can understand if a localizer is trying to make something make a bit more sense in a different culture, because like there's just things in different cultures that literally wouldn't make sense to us. We wouldn't even understand.
Ty.
So I can understand when they try and massage some certain things so they make a little bit more sense to us. This is not that.
This is not that.
This is not that.
There's cases where you see like a character suddenly talk about
So wait,
patriarchy.
is the idea that they're upset that like the localizers aren't translating it one for one, as if like they're taking it and changing it so that it's like not as I mean, that is one of the jobs of the localizers, just so you know. It's to like take something and make it more digestible for the audience that they are localizing it for. If you take a piece of like, if your goal is to like, here's a good example. If your goal is to make money, like Disney, right? And Disney made Lightyear, and Lightyear was, I've heard, a shit movie, or at least mid. But anyway, Lightyear had a scene in it where two lesbians kiss each other. One little peck. That's it. It was very short, and you could cut, and it was set up so that you could very easily cut it out. And so what they did was in China, the localizers cut that out, right? They cut the kiss out because gay is a big no-no in China, right? And so if your goal, if your drive is to make money, then sometimes you will do that. You'll localize it such that it is more digestible for that audience, even if it's not true to the original source material. Now, that's a capitalism problem, in my opinion, not so much a social issues problem, because, again, capitalists are just going to go with whatever the local population likes. Okay, whatever they like is is the slop that they're going to get fed. So if they don't like the gays, they're not going to get the gays. They're going to get all the straights. All right, and they can keep them for all I care, by the way. But anyway, point is, I don't think that's a fault of the localizers themselves. I just think that's like a money move for the most part.
Gays and stuff like that.
Yeah, the Dragon Maid example.
The Dragon Maid example is the one that's been going around a lot. And
I don't know this
That
one.
is not the original intent behind this stuff at all. And it seems like a lot of it is coming from Crunchyroll.
Yeah, they've always done that for
I
anime.
saw the tweets from the person who did those localizations. That was wild. Basically, like, screw you, I'm gonna do what I want. You're all Nazis. That was the response. I was like, what?
It's insane.
Yeah.
Like it.
What?
It's all news
Wait,
to me.
who's all Nazis? What did I miss?
Person who did those localizations. That was wild. Basically, like, screw you, I'm gonna do what I want. You're all Nazis. That was the response. I was like, what?
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Like
So the person who localized called like the people who were calling them out Nazis. Okay, I see. I mean, probably.
It's all news to me. So
The people who are going to be the most upset about like them putting some woke garbage or whatever are going to be Nazis. Okay, so it would not shock me.
There was an interview where someone asked that person about, and I don't even know what their name is, about what do you feel about the criticisms you receive for changing,
Because it's not your work.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not your work. You're changing something that else somebody else has done.
Mhm.
That's what I don't like about any of this.
And she deflected by saying, they all have a problem with me because I have a vagina and I'm a woman, basically. And if I wake up in the
Okay,
day,
hold on. I've got to get a fact check on this. What is this about? Here, Dragon Maid localization. What's this? Anime dubs from Reddit. Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid seems to be having localization issues. Twin Fire telling everyone to be outraged and upset. Someone defends it. Twin Fire. This what? I don't like how I have to constantly. I might switch everything over to the other side just because of this. In the sub, Lukoa says that she changed clothes because people were begging her to dress more modestly, so that's what she did. Tora then tells her that she should change her body next, therefore siding with the humans, which, when you think about it, isn't something she'd normally do. It's in her character to side more with her dragons than with humans. I know a little bit about the show. Basically, you have, like, dragons who are able to shapeshift into humans, and then they meet, like, a real human, and it's like, oh, wow, I have to deal with this crazy cast of characters now, right? Kind of like that. Changing your body because society thinks you should isn't exactly cool. The dub, on the other hand, has Lukoa saying that she changed for basically the same reason, but she specifically says that, quote, patriarchal societal demands were getting on her nerves. Toru then says that society will be begging her to change back after a while, therefore not siding with the humans and staying true to her character in the process. Okay. Okay, so it seems like they did change the core message. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about this, because I agree that this one seems better if that stays in character, right? Like, if the localizers are literally changing the story to make it better, I don't know. I'd have to think about that. To me, though, it seems like they were just doing it to make it more marketable, and that's the main issue that I have, is changing these things just to make it more marketable. I don't like that, okay? I don't know. I can see both sides of it.
That I get to upset Nazis, I'm going to keep doing it. I'm paraphrasing, but that's effectively what she said, which is the most, like, we've seen this again and again. Everyone who disagrees with me is a Nazi, right? Yeah. Like, how dare anyone actually have a problem?
Right. So, actually, I'd like to see, what's her name? Here. Wait, Dragon Maid localization. Former Funimation scriptwriter Jamie Markey doubles down on her infamous anti-patriarchy localization of Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. This is what happens when a script is dubbed into a different language. So it's Jamie Markey or whatever. Jamie Markey. Oh, she's a voice actress as well. So what did she say? Jamie Markey, localization. Here, we'll just look at this. I don't know why I'm searching. Okay, here we go. As the discourse against the Western localization industry's absolute butchering of Japanese media rages on in 2024, well, this sounds very biased. Former Funimation scriptwriter Jamie Markey has kicked off her new year by doubling down on her intentional and now infamous botching of Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid's English language dub. This latest round of localizer discourse arose after Bushiroad Works announced that in order to circumvent piracy, they would begin using a hybrid of AI, blah, 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 blah. Following this announcement, some fans admitted that while not ideal, the use of AI would potentially allow it to be more accurate. Western localizers took the news as an insult, many of them ironically upset that their work, which is often riddled with, I really do not want AI doing localizations. No, thank you. There is an art to localizing that goes very unappreciated. I feel like I can't show that. This is why I don't watch the show, by the way. Like, it's not a problem that I have specifically with a body type. It's that this is basically all the appeal is. Like, these might as well be the same character. I'd rather do it for marketing reasons than don't do it. It gets partial credit. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. Because I don't want them altering the original story, but, like, you know, sometimes you have to. Okay, I don't know what she actually said. Despite not being one-to-one, the manga, this interaction was kept relatively similar. When it came, okay. Everyone was always saying something to me, so I tried toning down the exposure. You should change your body next. I don't want to play that because I'm going to get in trouble if I do. She was called out. She blamed the entire backlash on nothing more than fans' own inherent misogyny. Here.
It's a stroll of power, and I appreciate it.
Well, I'm kind of scared to ask this question now because I don't want to bring down the room. So this
Oh,
is
boy.
more directed at Jamie, but all of you can answer.
Go,
all of
Jamie,
you
go. I'm
have, like,
excited about it.
I'm ready to bring
input
down
on
the
this.
room. Let's do
We
it.
need a spotlight
So
on
Funimation has come under, let's call it, criticism
Oh,
for
criticism.
how they choose to adapt their scripts
Oh,
for
like
a couple of
unnecessary
shows.
hate. Yeah, got it.
Yeah, and a lot of that I feel is directed at you unfairly.
Thank
and,
you.
So how would you like to respond to that kind of criticism?
To the
particularly-
criticism, like, I have a vagina, deal with it. Like, it's honestly, that's the truth. I am a woman. I am a funny woman. We are all talented, funny, powerful women. We are out here.
Okay, I don't care if she's in the right or not. I hate her so much. I hate her. She is insufferable. Who talks like this? No. She's annoying as shit.
Here, it's going to happen. Deal with it. I'm sorry you're not getting laid. It's not about you.
Wow.
That's my reaction.
Okay, I'm going to be as charitable as I possibly can. This lady has probably been through the ringer on Twitter and shit. You know what I mean? Like, she has seen it all. She's gotten death threats, DMs, like, telling her that she's ugly as sin. You know, all that. Like, I'm sure that I don't want to take that away from her. I am sure that they have reamed this poor woman, okay? But holy shit, do you come off as abrasive and fucking irritating, okay? I'm sorry. This is the last person that I would want to spend time with in any capacity. You in some ways, when you act like this, I hate saying this, you almost kind of bring it on yourself. You're not doing anything wrong, but like, you're kind of throwing bait out there. You know what I mean? Like, you know how you look, man. That's all I'm saying.
All right.
Women are
There a lot
insufferable.
of
This is
really
true.
angry Reddit comments that winner.
But thank you. Anybody else have anything to add to that? I think you nailed it. Okay, great.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to say that. She does? Yes.
Okay, I think I've seen enough of this. If that was her answer, that was pretty shit. I can see why the anime conservatives are latching onto this, honestly.
Problem with them changing the meaning of what they're doing and adding their own progressive agenda into it.
I don't think
They
she
must
used the
be
word
a-
Nazi, although, to be fair, I don't think it would surprise me if she did. So I'll let them have
And people are probably thinking, well, why is this a big deal? Well, just imagine somebody like this was doing this on the UN, where you were just like translating language. It's one of those things. Remember when we had, I can't remember the Broadway show or whatever, and Steven Spielberg or whatever was like, we're not going to translate the Spanish half because that's colonization. And it's like, how am I supposed to know what somebody's saying? Translating language has been one of these weird ones that's gone under the radar for the most part, where it's very important because people need to be able to speak to each other and understand one another. And when you decide to take liberties with what somebody's saying or not saying, that's a big problem.
It is. It looks like a lot of these woke localizations are being done on things that kind of slip under the radar. They do it in the big ones, like on My Hero Academia or Naruto or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's the lesser known ones where they
Convenient.
are much more happy to take a lot of liberties. And
Well, keep in mind, they're doing these
Wait, Dragon Maid is very well known. Like, it's not shonen, but it's well known enough.
liberties with something they don't.
I certainly
agree with.
wouldn't call
It's not
it
even
lesser
like
known.
they're just changing everything. They're changing things that they specifically don't ideologically agree with.
Oh, they have issues with a lot
Localizations,
of anime kind of
translations.
That's,
Then why are you translating anime? Like,
they want to make it the way that they perceive to be.
And a gay.
it's also known because I feel like people go to anime a lot because they like the Japanese culture and they're like, I want to escape the Western culture to watch
What?
some anime, and then no, it's there as well.
I have never heard of anybody watching anime because they like specifically for like to escape American culture. I've never heard of this. I mean, I'm sure there's a few people out there, but no, this is made up.
And
There's no escape.
So one of the responses to this is
Ominous.
that some of these Japanese anime companies.
Listen, the last person you want saying there's no escape is this motherfucker, okay? You get trapped in a room with this guy. I know that he looks weak, but he's absolutely like you do, let me put it this way. If he were wearing a trench coat, you're done. It's over. It's over. Okay? You get locked in a room with this man wearing a trench coat, you're dead. It's in 7 different ways. All right? This man studied the blade.
No escape.
So one of the responses to this is that some of these Japanese
Men like this are why I don't
companies,
go to
instead of
cons.
hiring these Western localizers to translate the stuff, they're going to get AI to do it for them.
This guy's so much quieter than the
All
other
power to
two.
him. But so I'm not 100% on board with everything AI.
Yeah. Lately, you
Wait. Okay, no, you don't want AI doing it. Have you seen Google Translate? Okay? It kind of sucks. Like, it's not 1000% useless, but it kind of sucks. If you're doing AI translations of anime, no, please no. Please no.
YouTube has been infested with AI in everything. In shorts,
It's going to come off so robotic.
oh my god, countless shorts. Where
Okay, here's what it is. If they do AI translations of everything, every single anime is going to sound exactly the same. The cadence is going to be the same. The rhythm's going to be the same. Like, none of it's going to be unique. It's just going to be dog shit. It's going to be pumped out goo. You ever seen the SpongeBob episode where the new company comes in and they take over the Krusty Krab, and then all they're like SpongeBob's not a fry cook anymore. He's a machine operator, and so all he does is like pull the lever on the machine, and then it pumps out gray shit, and then it spray paints the shit so that it looks like a Krabby Patty. Okay, I don't want shit patties. Please, no crappy patties. No, it's slop. Thank you. Yes, it is slop. Okay, I want the real deal. All right, I want to see that cow get slaughtered in front of me. I want the blood soaking my t-shirt while I bite into it. Do you understand? That's how authentic I want it.
It's like voiceovers with AI, thumbnails using AI. I've seen AI everywhere lately. I haven't seen it much. Yeah, I've seen that.
I don't condone animal violence.
You mentioned them, right? But thumbnails, all power to them. Great.
Thumbnails, I'm much more understanding. Things like these shorts, I don't like shorts to begin with, but all I've been seeing is like random facts with AI voiceovers and all this sort of stuff. It's starting to pop.
Do Wang translation. Pretty sure that used a translation software. No, I have not. Is it bad? Is it good?
Pop everywhere, and I don't know. Much more understanding. Things like these shorts, I don't like shorts to begin with, but
I work on my own thumbnails, and I think it's really fucking cheap that people are using AI now for thumbnails. Like, I know you got to get the thumbnails out, but I feel like it's such a lost art. You know what I mean? Like, there's an art to it, you know, to catching somebody's eye. It's fun to like figure out, okay, what is the thing that is going to make people click my video? And I figured out pretty good. But if you're using AI, you're just cheating. You know? It sucks. It sucks. Come on, play the damn game.
All I've been seeing is like random facts with AI voiceovers and all this sort of stuff. It's starting to pop up everywhere. And I don't know if I'm feeling it.
Don't watch it.
I
can't help himself.
I would love to not watch shorts, but YouTube pushes them on me, Shad. I don't have a choice.
You're still clicking on them, you know. Why don't click on it?
Read a book, you know.
Yeah.
All right, there's a couple of reasons why I'm fully on board with this version of it. It empowers the original creators to have more control over their product, okay? I feel it's really dirty that they are trusting Western localizers to translate their product in such a way that would keep the core intent of that product, and it's not happening, okay? And they're doing a crappy job. All power to them, they get to get that control back. But all right, even then, right? Pretend that...
I do think if they're changing the core message, I do have an issue with that. Based on what I saw from her... And also what I read, I don't know much about the show, like I said. I know the premise, and that's about it. And I also know it's got some weird shit in it. But based on what I saw, it does seem like she changed the core message a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that would change the entire show, but that is a character moment that you are now taking control of a little bit more than you should be. You know what I mean? I don't know. Like, I kind of agree that they're kind of foregoing the spirit. You know what I mean? Obviously, they're, you know, doing the woke shit. You know, they're rolling this into their the same cocktail that they roll everything else they consider woke into. And they're not doing this in good faith, but I do think that they have a point here. Yeah, AI art really is the death of humanity.
It's there's a company that just wants to do AI translation and not hire localizers anyway, okay? And there wasn't a controversy about the quality of the localization. A company has every right to find a means to make a good product at a better price, okay? One of the advantages of getting AI to do it is that they would actually have the capacity to do a simultaneous Western-Japanese release at the same time and have the Japanese have their Western
No, they wouldn't.
At the same time because they can do it a lot.
No, these people have no fucking clue how AI works. No, you can't just automatically shoot a Japanese version of something into an AI thing and then have it spit out a perfect script in English. It doesn't work like that. Okay? It takes guesses. Okay? Just like the English, like literal people, humans have to guess at what exactly is meant by certain things when they're translating from Japanese to English. Modern day languages, okay? They have to guess sometimes. So what the hell do you think an AI script is going to look like? It's going to be filled to the brim with inconsistencies and jokes that don't make sense and puns that don't land. It would be a fucking train wreck. You have to have people edit that shit. Okay, there's still work that goes into it. Granted, albeit not as much, but there's still work that goes into it after the fact. So it would still be a delayed release. Like, just say you don't know how AI works.
And they have control over it. That's awesome. That empowers the company
No, it's not.
to be able to give their product.
And like I
to a
said,
wider
also,
audience
it's going to be
from the
slop.
get-go. And the reality is, the cream will rise to the surface. If the AI translation is just dog crap, people are going to complain about it and they're going to prefer localization. If it's better, you get it better.
No, that's not always how that works. Okay, some people will eat the slop. And if enough people eat the slop, then it won't matter if, like, other people don't like the slop. Because they'll be forced to eat the slop too.
A product out of it. Okay. And by the way, people will still be employed to do this. This isn't like robbing a job. In actual fact, it's going to take some AI technician or someone to do it, to review it, to double check and everything like that. And it's going to create a different
If
industry in the
everybody's
industry,
doing
and
it,
be
you
able to do it
can't
faster,
complain
with a
about
better
it.
turnaround and give you a better product in the end. I don't see an issue with this. Okay. And people, they say they lose their jobs. It's like there'll be new jobs created out of this. Right.
You know where AI needs to go? I don't know how many people know this, but AI has literally been asked. You can ask the AI, hey, AI, what is AI better for? An artist or a CEO? You know what it'll say? It's better as a CEO. You know why? CEOs do nothing but sit in an air-conditioned fucking office pushing numbers all day. Guess what computers are really good at doing? Sitting in an air-conditioned office pushing numbers. That's exactly what computers do. That's exactly what CEOs do. I think this is a perfect match, guys. I think we found a good use for AI. You know where I don't want AI? All of my creative shit. Why would you create a machine that creates? You know what I mean? Like, creatively. Why would you do that? Why not just be a fucking creative person? You know? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Machines are meant to make things easier, make processes easier, make things go faster, make things more efficient. We use technology and machines to make better art, not by making the machine make the art, but giving us tools that help us better craft it. You know? And I'm so pissed off about the whole AI thing because I know that everything's going to be eaten up by it, and it's just a matter of time. And these dipshits will eat the slop. They'll eat the slop! That's the thing. Everybody will eat it. Myself included. Because we'll be forced to. Ugh.
A new industry, and it's just the natural evolution of technology.
My only, not reserve, like, I'm just curious. Does it work the same
Susan,
way
that sounds
like art does?
hilarious.
How it has like the build or the library that it draws upon? Like, how does it actually work with the AI voice stuff?
So,
because if it samples a whole bunch of like current day Hollywood media, you're just going to get
no, it's not like that at all. AI translation works off of the original input, like voice, right?
Yeah.
And it can actually replicate that same voice in the other language.
Oh, good.
And so that's what it actually gets.
English
You might
voice
even get
actors,
voices.
go fuck yourselves.
It's weird because the Dragon Ball Z, I wouldn't have.
I was gonna say,
an
like, when
English
you're gonna
voice in the tone of the original, it would reflect the intent of the original of the creator.
No, it wouldn't, because Goku in Japanese sounds very different from Goku in English for a good reason. Because that kind of person makes more sense to an American sounding like Goku does in America than it does how he sounds in Japanese. They literally have a woman play Goku in Japan. I don't like their voice actor as much. Okay? I'm not saying that to bash her. Okay? She's a great voice actor. But I don't like it as much as the American voice actor, Sean Schemmel. Okay? I have personal issues with Sean Schemmel, but he's a great voice actor. So, where was I going with this? AI voice Goku sounds like the most soulless version of Goku. I know, right? Like, they just want to... No, I hate this so much. That they're even considering this shit.
Right? And so that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And I think for the most part, I think the Goku is probably an exception. That if we get the voices that sound
Oh,
like
that's the exception.
what the
Got it.
character was first more intended to be like by the vision of the creator.
Imagine a Piccolo that's not voiced by Christopher Sabat. You know? Or an Alex Louise Armstrong. Or an All Might. Or a Zorro. You know, Christopher Sabat is so much more than just a voice for these characters. He is these characters. Okay? These voice actors in English bring life to these characters. They make them people. They make them characters. They make them real. Okay? It's the voice actors that do that. It's the one, I think, okay, there's two things that differentiate an anime from a manga. You know what it is? Two main things. One is that the anime moves, right? It's a moving picture, okay? But it's still a picture. So in that sense, it's kind of the same. But the other major difference is that there is now an audio element. An audio element, okay? That's where the voices come in. Because in a book, you have to make that shit up in your own head. But the whole point of the voice actor is to bring that shit to life. And if you have an AI do that, no, fuck you, dude. Fuck you. It's already lifeless. Why would you try to bring life into something using a lifeless fucking robot? Disgusting.
Creator, that's also a really good thing.
Soulless.
More power to it. And so, to me, this is something that empowers the creators of these animes to ensure that it remains true to what it was meant to be. They gain control
I'm
over
not
it.
sure, Queen
And
Laura.
also potentially a means to make the product come to the Western audience
Exactly,
faster.
Avalon.
And quality is going to be an interesting one. The technology is still progressing. If they're going to do it right, they're going to need someone, several people.
There's no doing it right.
To not only translate it, but to double check it. And then they're going to need someone to understand the actual cultural thing, the issues that you run into that.
Yeah.
And so they're going to need someone who actually does speak both languages anyway, that's going to understand the translative part. And then what they'll actually have to do then, they'll have to re-record the audio, if they don't have anyone speaking Japanese, right? In what the translation would be, and then get the in Japanese and then translate it to English so it makes sense in the English context. And guess what? That's going to require another person to do it, right? And so it's still going to...
Yeah, this is too much. Why would you go through all this trouble? Just use a fucking English voice actor, you cheap sons of bitches.
Hire more people. Sorry.
You
It's
business
probably gonna hire
brain
as much
soulless
people. If the
husks.
technology gets better, it might improve and get less, but that just means the company gets to save more money, and then they'll be able to make more anime.
This
more
will save me a
animations
penny.
as a result.
Yoink.
People think that when a company just suddenly is able to produce something for cheaper, right? That they're going to pocket all the saved profits.
Yes.
Right? Dedicated companies, what they do that they use.
Oh, of course, right.
Like hypothetically,
To make right
Hollywood
to
is
make
spending
more
like-
money. Yeah. Well, that's pocketing it though. That's that you might as well be pocketing it. Okay. You're still using that money to make more money, and part of that is going to be cutting costs. Okay. Like firing people and shit. They are always trying to maximize their income, no matter what. Even if they are putting out good shit. Riot put out a fucking masterpiece in Arcane. That is a masterpiece. It is so good, and they're making a sequel. Okay. I believe that Riot, the top dogs at Riot, do have some kind of sense of passion for this shit because they throw money at these artists. It almost seems like and tells them to go wild with it. And they just want to, they're so passionate about it. And I can tell that everybody who worked on Arcane has passion about it. But those are few and far between, my friend. Okay, most of them are just going to take that money and gobble it up. They don't give a shit. They will serve slop. Again, it is slop. They will serve slop if it saves them a penny. Okay? They will serve slop over anything that tastes like any kind of actual food. Or in this case, anything that would resemble a fucking TV show, a proper TV show.
100 million to make a film, right?
Hollywood's not a good example.
Yeah, but let's use this as an example, right? Say they get a technology that enables them
You
to
will
make
eat the
same
slop, you will
quality
live in
film,
the condo.
interesting on color in Hollywood, but a good quality film
Condo,
or
apartment.
20 million instead of 100 million.
Mm.
If they're
We'll
a business
collect
with
fucking
a
rent
that
from
actually
you is
wants
the
to
point.
make money, right? They're not just going to make one movie for 20 million and then pocket the other 80 million that they could have developed, produced investment. No, they're going to use the other 80 million and make 5 or 4. Four additional high quality films, and you get more high quality films. Hopefully, that's the goal.
will live
That's
in the cubicle.
True potential. But to think it's all going to be the apocalyptic version, no. I know for me, especially with graphic novel development stuff like that, anything that arises that enables me to save money in development is great because that means the money I save, I
You're
put
like
into
firing
developing
people.
more stuff, which ultimately
Fuck that, man. You know what I say? Waste more money. Okay, you know what I'm doing when I'm trying to make something with art? I waste money. I waste money on resources. I waste material. I lose shit. Shit happens. And sometimes that's just the way it is with art. Waste money. I want these companies to waste more money on their art. Okay? It costs way more to do something like a original claymation, right? Like like from the ground up, constructed claymation. It costs way more to do that than it costs to just use an AI generator to make a claymation. You know what I mean? And I've seen that shit and it looks garbage. All right. It takes a lot more time to do it the old fashioned way, but guess what? The final product is a lot more special. It looks a lot better, and you can tell the love that has been put into it as opposed to some AI garbage nonsense. Yeah, and people like him call us lazy and entitled. Exactly. And what is the point of money if we can't spend it on enriching people's lives? That's the approach I've been taking lately to money. Is like, I do throw money around a little bit more than I probably should, guys. But at the end of the day, we got 80 to 100 years on this fucking planet. And I'm going to use every single ounce of it enjoying myself. All right? Enjoy life a little bit if you have the money to do so. If you don't, get good. I don't know. I'm sorry.
Amounts in me hiring more people. Right? And so, yeah, AI art is going to enable me to save money in certain areas.
Point being, don't be afraid to waste a little money here.
Hand-drawn human art to develop more graphic
Have
novels.
fun.
That's what AI is really going to empower a lot of businesses to do. And that's kind of what I'm seeing with this translation stuff, where it's going at the moment. It's very
Line must
interesting,
go
right?
up.
And
You heard.
No, with this, I'm like, this is one of those smaller things that goes under the radar where it's just, you're not happy with what they're trying to do, what they're trying to pull. And in this
Recall, by the way, that this whole thing started with a pseudo. They pretend to be pointing out that the localizers were not doing a good enough job of staying loyal to the original. Like they're virtue signaling, basically. Like, oh my goodness, oh no, the original artist of this art will not have their art be the art that they wanted to art, right? Because of the localizers. And now they're saying like, fuck the artist, right? Fuck the voice actors. Fuck them. Just use AI for everything. Oh, you have a good anime idea. Hey, shit it into an AI. It'll shit it back out, and then you can eat it and spit it up and vomit it and then shit it again. Like, it's all shit is my point. And they're hypocrites.
specific case, especially when it comes to something like language, I would much prefer. I wouldn't trust an AI, but at the same time, I also wouldn't trust these other people as well.
You know what I trust? I would trust a human overseeing AI tools to produce it. Because if people think it's just AI, no, it's a human using a tool.
A human overseeing AI tools is the least trustworthy person on the fucking planet. No.
And this human probably, if they
what are they
like I said,
using
they'll
it
get someone who
for?
speaks Japanese and English, and I will check them, and they'll
Hell
be able to
no.
do it themselves
Yeah.
and keep the intent. And it's not going to have the woke propaganda stuff because Japan, for the most part, they're not on board with any of that nonsense. You know?
Yeah.
That's why we love Japan. There are some companies that, but no, Japan for the most part is pretty solid.
And some societal norms that, there's a couple of things that's wrong with
I'm
Japan.
not
Let's
saying-
be
I'm not
honest
saying-
here.
yeah,
They're not perfect.
There are some weird things in Japan. Don't get me wrong.
No, I don't really watch Some More News that much. I know they're funny, but I don't know. It's not my style.
Right? Still, they're like, My Hero Academia is one of the most solid pieces of current superhero content that actually captures the core of
I agree.
superhero content. Right? It's great.
I have a lot of problems with that show, but yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, because you specifically caveated it as like superhero. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, cool. I thought you were gonna say best anime. I was gonna be like,
no.
ooh.
Like, it
Yeah,
has the
no.
theme of what it really means to be a hero.
Yeah, as far as shonen goes, My Hero's pretty stock.
Self-sacrificing, someone great.
Pretty
power,
run-of-the-mill.
It has those themes in it. It's great. And we go to anime because they're still making some really good, solid stuff that has some of those traditional themes that we love. And now this is just going to protect a lot of the stuff that we like and take away the power of people trying to subvert it and inject agenda. And so that's why there's very little sympathy for this. It's because that's been one of the results. People think, don't you have sympathy for people who potentially going to lose their jobs? And they say, the human localizers will always do a better job.
Hold on.
Not always.
I'm sorry. You are literally doing your job wrong.
Yes.
Like you are
And
actually
they're
doing a
proud about
bad job. So if they lose their job for it, I'm like, you're not doing your job.
I mean, yeah, I agree. Like if the localizer is literally like changing the original content and making an almost like lying about what it's supposed to say, I agree. They should come under scrutiny for that. I don't know about lose their job, but surely like there's some way to check them on that and be like, hey, maybe next time don't change what this was supposed to be originally. Because at the end of the day, I do think that she did change the original message, the original quote. She literally changed what the character said in a way that she knew changed it. Okay. So, I agree that something should be done with her, but like I don't know. They just seem really vitriolic about it. That's my only point.
Oh, yes. So okay, you're paid to do this. Anyway, sorry. I don't
You
want
get what you deserve. That's and they have been proud.
Yeah, My Hero's.
Celebrating the fact that they have been doing a bad job.
It's funny because I showed it to Katie way before I showed her One Piece. And I was like, Katie, you'll love this anime, because I was really into it at the time. I was like, you'll love this. The main character is basically just you. And so we watched it, and it's like Deku doing the thing where he's like stepping with his feet and holding his backpack. And she's like, oh my God, you called me out. So she likes it a lot.
Job saying, you're just a Nazi and I like upsetting Nazis and I'm going to keep doing what we're doing.
I didn't see her calling anybody a Nazi, but I could be
So,
wrong.
yeah. And this is one example where AI tools empower creators to not only make more, but to
By the way, what's so funny to me is like anybody who's accusing somebody of like calling everybody a Nazi, right? Like usually they end up being Nazis themselves. It's very funny.
their, artistic vision the way that it was intended to be. Which
It's open to
and so,
interpretation.
I'm not saying
I don't
it's all
know.
good, but to say it's all bad is wrong. There's actually really beneficial tools.
The thing is, I just don't care that much. Like at the end of the day, I don't think that drastically changed the episode or anything. You know what I mean? I just don't care that, and I also don't watch the damn show. I feel like most of the people upset at this don't even watch Dragon Maid. You know what I mean? And those who do watch Dragon Maid and are mad at this are probably pedophiles. So I really just don't care that much.
Tools that can come out of this, and this is one example that a lot of people actually acknowledging, okay, good, all power to it. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Maybe some examples. If you like, it's been interesting looking up specific examples about the woke localization stuff and what they inject, and you can see videos showing examples.
It's not the
There's,
lesbians, exactly.
Dedicated YouTubers that actually kind of catalog this stuff, and it's always shocking some of the stuff that they inject into it. And what's also interesting.
See, but they can only give one example too. Like, what else is there? Like they said, My Hero's doing fine. I feel like, I don't know. Like My Hero does, yeah, it's pretty standard, but I feel like it's made in such a way that that is attractive to like your average Tumblr browsing Zoomer or whatever. As far as they browse Tumblr, but like. I don't know, like, what else are they injecting this into? Like, how are they injecting it? I don't see it anywhere. I see a lot of it in One Piece, but they never talk about that because that would be inconvenient because One Piece is very popular and very well loved the world over. So, that's the only reason they don't talk about it in that. I've challenged people on this before. They're like, no, it's not woke in One Piece, bro. Trust me. They do it low brow, bro. Not low brow. It's low key. They keep it low key in One Piece, bro. No, it's not woke in there. It's not like liberal woke shit. Even though it is. It's like the most liberal woke shit I've ever seen almost in an anime. But they don't pay it any mind because that would be inconvenient to their narrative.
Is one of the talking points that they say is really, really bad is cultural appropriation. I
haven't heard anybody accused of that in a while.
Cultural
export.
And appropriating it to say things that it never was intended to have sounds a bit like actual cultural appropriation.
Well, let us know in the comments what you think, if it's cultural appropriation or not.
Dude, that was such an epic takedown, bro. Oh my God. Yo, dude, that was really boring. I'm disappointed. I thought it'd be more exciting than that. I mostly just got mad at them about the AI shit. Fuck AI, man. The only good thing AI ever did for us was give us Plankton's covers of songs like Black Hole Sun. That's the only good thing AI ever brought me. Other than that, fucking hate it. And yes, they were buffoons. Quite so. Quite so. Yes. Yeah, he was really proud of himself. He's like, gotcha, liberal. I gotcha. I gotcha. Gotcha, liberal. I gotcha. He was so proud of himself. Ugh. I hate it. Should have stuck to the videos whining about how Wolverine's claws would be a bad weapon. I haven't seen any of his other videos. They're reaching so much, I would literally jump into a volcano if I was these guys. Yeah. God, my front page is so fucked. I need content. I'm out of content. What do I do? looking for content in all the wrong places. Why am I still up every time Gunter streams? I fuck up my sleep schedule. That is not my fault. I know you didn't say it was, but get some sleep. Go to bed. I keep hearing that Yemen got striked by the US and UK, but like, I don't know anything about it. Nothing. So, I'm not going to speak on it, at least not today. If it blows up into something bigger and I can't avoid it, then maybe. ADHD moment? Yeah, I feel that. Well, I can't force you to do nothing. Can you cover it next stream? Like, I don't do foreign politics a lot. I don't know. It's just not my thing. I usually just cover domestic issues. I just cover whatever comes to my eyes. Please? I have no clue what's happening. Is it, like, I don't know. For one, I'm looking forward to our next 20-year-long war. I mean, there's always a 20-year-long war going on. There's nothing new. I'll think about it. Ooh, it'd be really fun to watch a debate while I game. What do you guys think? Have there been any good debates lately? I watched Vosh's coverage of it. He basically explained how the strike was a self-defense and how the Houthis are terrible. Okay. Yeah, see, that's what I heard, is that the strikes were self-defense. Destiny versus Alex Jones. I already watched it. That was actually not that enjoyable. My real problem is I watched all the debates already, so like I don't have any to watch. Debates. We could turn on a Karen video while I game, like we sometimes do. You guys want to do that? Watch like Karens get arrested or something. How about Ben Shapiro versus Alex O'Connor on biblical slavery? Is that atheist? I have been hearing about that. Is religion good for society? Oh yeah, I haven't watched this yet. Yeah, good call. Good call. Let's do it. Good call. Thank you. Thank you, Guitar Rocker. Oh, I'm hungry. I'm gonna have to eat soon. But not yet. I love picture-in-picture. The only thing I don't like about this is that I can't have captions on it, but it helps so much. Risky Rain. Some classic Risky Rain.
Pretty much universally, social science suggests that...
let me turn it down a little bit.
Many of the institutions that we hold dear that shape us, that provide us social support.
It's too fast. Ben Shapiro talks too fast.
A huge amount of this used to happen anyway inside of these traditional religious structures, and there really has been nothing to replace it.
We're talking about what the self is here. I mean, atheists believe in the self. Everybody believes in the self.
Well, no, that's not. I mean, that I find difficult to believe. Why would an atheist believe in the self? The self is a series of non-deciding mechanisms.
This show does seem to have an extraordinary capacity for putting me face to face with people that I've been talking smack about online. So, thanks again.
The arguments against God are fairly compelling, and I think the arguments against atheism are fairly compelling. And I think that The difference is that most people who believe in God have expressed doubts, and a lot of people who are atheists tend to be more religious in this way than many of the people who are God believers.
If people listening agree with me that free will in fact doesn't exist, and simultaneously agree with you that free will is somehow necessary for the upkeep of civilization, then I would simply ask them to consider who's relying on the delusion here.
If you want more from today's conversation, register now and you'll have a chance to win a free ebook. And tell us who persuaded you in our survey with today's show. Welcome to The Big Conversation, part of Premier Unbelievable's roster of shows brought to you in partnership with the Templeton Foundation. I am your host, Andy Kind. Today we are talking about a very interesting topic. The question is religion good or bad for society? And I've been joined by two very dapper chaps, Ben Shapiro and Alex O'Connor, who most of you maybe, will be completely aware of. We're going to have a very substantive conversation. I'm going to introduce them first. I'm going to give a little summary on who they are.
A little summary.
And, stop me if you've heard this before. So Ben Shapiro is
summary.
a prominent American conservative political commentator and columnist. Okay, so far?
So far, so good.
A graduate in political science from UCLA and the Harvard Law School, Ben has authored over a dozen books, including the #1 New York Times bestseller, The Right Side of History, How Reason and Moral Purpose Made the West Great. He is co-founder and editor emeritus of The Daily Wire and host of the aptly titled Ben Shapiro Show, which in 2021 was ranked in the top 10 most listened to Apple podcasts. He also has a YouTube channel with over 6 million subscribers. Kudos to you, sir. Joining Ben today is Alex O'Connor. Alex O'Connor is a YouTuber and host of the Within Reason podcast, a philosophy platform designed to present philosophical discussions in an accessible format.
Never heard of this guy.
A graduate of philosophy and theology from St. John's College, Oxford
smart.
University, he is also an international public speaker and debater, having defended his philosophical convictions against a wide range of
he's a
experts
debate bro.
across multiple
Cringe
continents,
sweaty.
and whose online video material has been viewed more than 70 million times. Is that true?
It might be more now, actually, depending on
more than 70 million times.
That was written.
Yeah, that's great.
Brag a little more, man.
It's great to have you both. Thank you both for taking the time. And for both of you, I'm a long-time listener, first-time caller. So hopefully we're going to have a lot of good stuff to say. We're talking about religion and society and how they interconnect. And we want to know, really, and I'd like to get this settled once and for all at the end of this conversation so nobody else ever has to discuss it if we can. Is religion good for society? Can a society hold together if there are no underlying beliefs that everybody shares? And we're going to be exploring what both of you believe are the most important principles undergirding any civilization. What are the foundations of morality and ethics based on? So, without further ado, let's start.
Well, I can't imagine what Benny
Boy
Boy
backstory
thinks.
too much because most people will be aware of who you are, and there'll be a lot of fanboys and girls out there watching.
Just to say.
But let's talk about something that, Ben, you have spoken on, and Alex, you have responded to, this idea of the atheist delusion. Ben, could you sort of concisely, if you can, talk about what you mean by the atheist delusion?
Sure.
Yes,
so
the atheist
I should start off by
delusion.
saying I don't actually think
The
that it's
atheist
possible to prove the
delusion that
existence
there
of
is no Sky Daddy, right? Yeah.
God. I'm also not a believer that you can disprove the existence of God. I don't think that logical argumentation is going to get you there one way or another, and so I'm not going to try and do that with Alex today, because I think that if people would have been able to provide
And he's on his
dispositive
game
proofs,
today.
then people would believe them, and if people were able to provide dispositive proofs that God does not exist, then people would be more apt to believe
boys on
those as
on
well.
point.
What I think is an atheist delusion is that it is possible to live ideologically purely in a way that does not rely on fundamental faith principles. When I say faith principles, I'm not going to make the claim that those faith principles are direct from Sinai or that those faith principles require the New Testament, for example. I'm going to make the claim that there are a bunch of principles upon which we base ourselves that are external to what we know about nature and evolutionary biology, and that many of the things that Alex does in his daily life, for example, are going to be things that rely on principles that are external to a philosophy that would assume a lack of the supernatural, a lack of the extra
Good night, Lady
natural.
Nova. Thanks for being here.
So some of those principles, for example, are free will. So every day we get up, we believe, virtually all of us, whether we say we believe it or not, we actually act in ways that betray the idea that we believe that we have control over our own actions, at least to a certain extent, and that control makes a difference in the world. And that's what gives us purpose. It's what allows us to wake up in the morning and make the decision to do what we believe is right or what we believe is wrong. That the principles of right and wrong are external to evolutionary biology. So both of these principles that I've mentioned already, free will, right and wrong, these come from a language that
Not
is external to
necessarily.
the Darwinian language of evolutionary
You
biology.
could make an argument that what we know is right and wrong. I mean, they are external to evolutionary biology in many ways, but you could make the argument that the reason these things we consider right and wrong are the way they are is because of the way we evolved. You know, we evolved such that the most beneficial thing we can do is have a civilized society. You know, that's what will allow us to all prosper together and make scientific progress and advancements and perhaps even make settlements on other planets, you know? Like, that's what would help us the most is cooperation, you know? Looking out for your fellow man. So you could make the argument that biologically we naturally came to that conclusion. I think that's just as justifiable as saying that God did it, personally.
If you're talking about free will, there is nothing in nature that suggests the ability to make a decision free
Morality is
of
purely cultural.
environment and genetics
eh.
in combination in some sort.
Not purely.
The same thing is true of right and wrong.
There's
The
an
idea that
element,
there
for
is a
sure.
right and there is a moral wrong that we can reason our way to. Another principle that I think that you're obviously very big on, it's something that you rely on all the time. Your entire podcast is based on the idea of reason. These ideas do not exist in the context of a purely materialist atheist universe. Now, I'm not going to make the claim that I can prove that it's God who's behind those things, because one of the
all you say by saying this is that you don't believe that there is any reason to be nice to people except for that God exists. Like, that's all you're saying. It's a really bold admission. And honestly, I forget what the guy's name is. I'm sorry, I'm bad at names and I don't know this guy. But whoever he's debating, I hope that guy like says something like that. Like, I don't need to know that like there's an afterlife or like you know, a God judging me in order to make the right decisions. You know, like I that's just a childish idea that would be the reason. You know what I mean? I really do hope that he says that.
principles of faith belief is that I don't
Something
understand
like
God.
it.
So for people who don't believe in God, that's an easy way out, right? That's an easy way out for people like me, because I say, well, I don't have to explain the relationship between God and free will because, frankly, I don't fully understand God. But that's not really that's not really an open window. That's just part of pretty much all faith systems, is that if my mind were the mind of God, then I would either be God or God would not exist, one of the two things. So the idea that reason makes a difference in our lives, that we can reason our way to propositions, and that's more than just saying a few magic words and that's setting off a few neurons in somebody else's brain in a naturalistic way, that there actually is principles of truth, another concept that comes from the extra natural world, that these principles exist. So far I've mentioned free will, good, right and wrong, reason, and truth, right? All things that we consider extremely key in our daily lives and that Alex considers key in what he does. It's, I assume, why you get up every morning, or at least why you feel you get up every morning. You know, what gets you up to do your podcast? It's because you want to say things that you believe are reasonable, are going to convince people to act in a better way, or I assume
And
not a
also
worse
money,
way,
I'm sure,
that
but
get
yeah.
people to change their lives in some way in a self-motivated fashion. That's not merely in a sort of Pavlovian response to circumstance and environment. So if I were going to talk about the atheist delusion, that's what I would suggest.
Yeah,
the
but
delusion.
as an atheist, right? I do what I do for moral reasons, because I don't like watching people suffer. I don't need a reason to not like watching people suffer. I don't need a God to tell me that I shouldn't like people suffering. You know, I feel like that's a pretty natural conclusion to come to, is that you don't want a member of your species suffering, you know? Because that reflects back upon yourself, you know what I mean? Like, you imagine if you do have empathy, right? If you're an empathetic person, you don't have to be an empath, but if you're an empathetic person, you should be uncomfortable watching people suffer. That should make you uncomfortable. Okay? That's a good thing. That means that your brain is working properly. That means that you have a sense of special preservation. You know, I am all for human supremacy. Okay, preserve the human race. All right, we must stop the replacement of the human race by the trees. Okay, like, you know, I don't want to be reclaimed by nature. So, where was I going with this? Sorry. I lost where I was going with that. I'm sorry. We'll just keep going.
That an atheist
usually comes back
can use terminology that is drawn from a world that is external to atheism for itself. And again, that's not an argument for God even. That's just an argument against atheism. Again, I think the arguments against God are fairly compelling, and I think the arguments against atheism are fairly compelling. This is one of the things that I've said to Sam Harris. And I think that the difference is that most people who believe in God have expressed doubts, and a lot of people who are atheists tend to be more religious in this way than many of the people who are God believers.
Well, something's certain. We don't do cold opens or soft starts here on the big conversation. Alex?
Well, I am glad to begin on a point of agreement with you, Ben, that yes, if there is no God, there is no free will, but I think that's because of the truth of the latter of those statements. That
Wait, did he say that he thinks there's no free will? Because if that's the case, then I highly disagree. Everything that's not what he said, right? I think I misheard.
Biggest criticism that I made of you in a video response that I made to the atheist delusion, and this show does seem to have an extraordinary capacity for putting me face to face with people that I've been talking smack about online. So thanks again.
By the way, I should say it's a great video, and everybody should watch it if they haven't.
Well, I'm going to put that in the description. I think that glowing endorsement. The principal disagreement that I think I had with you, Ben, is that there was a subtle or not so subtle implication, in my view, that yes, with no God, there's no free will. But somehow having God can solve this problem. I mean, you said a moment ago that you don't think you can establish God's existence through reason alone, but assuming that you do believe in the existence of free will, you think it's a real thing that you have.
Yes.
And simultaneously saying that if there is no God, then free will makes no sense.
Yes.
That does read to me like an argument for God's existence, such that in order to either say that there is free will, in order to say that there is free will, one must believe in God. And that does strike me as an argument for God's existence.
I mean, to slightly curve that, or to kind of sand off the rough edges there, I would say that the argument I made is an argument for something extra natural.
Sure.
Now, you can call that God or not God, but the thing that I'm making the argument for is that you can...
He's saying that Ben Shapiro contradicted himself, basically. Just for my purposes, I'm explaining this. He's saying Ben Shapiro contradicted himself because he said that he can't reason his way towards a belief for God, but then at the same time he's saying that if free will exists, God must exist. So that is self-evident for God. So that is a contradiction in his logic. Very good.
Cannot get from a materialist Darwinist universe to free will. That is not possible. So I know that the way you solve that is that you say that there is no free will.
That's right.
And what I'm saying to you is you don't act that way.
I hear this all the time. People say, look, you may say there's no free will, but you don't act as though that's the case. I suppose that I'm just confused as to what it would look like for somebody to act as if they believe there was no free will. I mean, the very argument that there is no free will that I subscribe to, at least one of the various forms that it takes, is a sort of Schopenhauerian view that you can do as you will, you just can't will what you will. And that you are essentially just a biological machine reacting to its internal and evolutionary drives. That's what's happening. Now, call that nihilistic if you like, that's a separate question, but as to the question of how this would make one act, the idea that this might cause us to sort of lay around in bed all day or something, the very mechanism that I think is responsible for eliminating the possibility of free will, that is, the drives that make people do what they do, like I say, do exactly that. Make people do what they do. They make them get out of bed in the morning. Why do you get out of bed and go and make your breakfast if there's no free will?
Chemicals
so you go
in the
and
brain.
get breakfast because there's no free will.
Chemicals in
and
the water turning you
that's
gay.
outside of your control.
For sure. So to get back to the nihilism point, which you kind of put aside, so that means that this conversation is essentially worthless in any sort of real sense. I mean, effectively, we were driven here by evolutionary biology and environment to have this conversation. Everybody who's watching this is driven by evolutionary biology and environment to have a particular reaction to that thing.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter if that's what drove us here. It doesn't preclude that free will doesn't exist, actually. Okay, free will exists, but you still have to contend for the fact that free will is heavily manipulated by evolution and by genetics and by how we're wired, okay? We don't act like cats by nature. We don't act like dogs by nature. We act like humans who have free will, okay? And we choose to act like civilized fucking human beings. At least most of us do, unless you're Ben Shapiro.
Round the cycle goes. That seems like a very purposeless life. Again, I'm drawing from a realm that is not evolutionarily biologically, connected. The word purpose is really, teleology obviously has been taken out of the realm of science pretty thoroughly by
What's
atheists and
teleology
by
again?
many people in the sciences, although I would argue that, again, most scientists speak in the realm of teleology literally all the time, and they're borrowing language from the language of teleology, even when they're describing functions of particular body parts, right? The heart pumps blood in order to keep you alive, right? They're constantly using language that's teleological in nature. The real question that I have, and this is what goes to the question that you were asking at the beginning, before the sort of pre-question question, which was the good of religion to society. One of those goods is people believing that their free will matters and this actually is a useful thing. So I believe that it is deeply important for people in society to believe that they have the capacity to change themselves and to make different decisions than what biology would drive them to do. So you say, well, it's biology that drives you to get out of bed in the morning, which is almost Calvinist in sort of the way that it's described, right? It's like you're predestined to get out of bed in the morning, so thus you get out of bed in the morning. But the reality is that we are constantly making decisions as the...
He's boiling this down to a God of the gaps argument. You have to, so when you explain free will, if you don't believe in God and you don't believe in supernatural occurrences, then there must be some sort of natural explanation for why we have free will, or at least the illusion thereof. And the best explanation we have is wibbly wobbly brain chemical thingy, do the thing and make you feel free will. And then you make choices. Okay. That's the best we got right now, because free will, as it turns out, is really fucking complicated. Okay. Not a lot of creatures have it. Okay. Like, as far as we know, we're the only ones.
Though those decisions make a difference in the universe. And what social science actually does tend to show is that when people believe that they have control over their own actions, that when they believe that they're capable of changing the way that they live, they do make those changes with more alacrity and in better directions than if they don't believe that. If people tend to believe in a deterministic universe, they do act worse. So it may work. This is going to be sort of Straussian in its implications, but that may work for you. You're a very high IQ individual who can somehow reconcile the idea of living a very purposeful life with the idea that actually there's no purpose to anything. But for the vast majority of people, that is not actually how they live. And I would suggest that even in your daily life, you don't get out of bed in the morning thinking, man, my biology is driving me this morning to get on the bike.
This is a common misconception that atheists believe that there's no purpose to anything. When, yeah, kind of, because at the end of the day, everything's going to become space dust or like whatever, or like the inevitable depth of the heat universe it will come upon us one day. All right, there's no way around that. But that doesn't mean that what we do here is purposeless. That doesn't mean that it doesn't matter. And atheists don't believe that. Most atheists I've talked to don't believe that it doesn't matter. Okay? Yeah, and I also would ask the same question, Queen Laura. We must move past IQ. But like, I'm an atheist and I love my life, okay? I live life every day. Well, not every day, but most days I try to live my life to the fullest by doing this. Sitting at home on a Friday night, playing video games in front of an audience of people who are sitting at home doing the same thing, basically. I love you guys.
Day, the sun is shining. That's my biology doing this. And I don't think that most people who live purposeful lives, even if they believe that everything they're doing is predetermined by the world around them, by their own biology, I don't believe they actually feel that. They have to engage in what they themselves would term an illusion in order to feel a sense of purpose and meaning in their lives.
Of course, but that's what the evolutionary process, in my view, in my worldview, I should say, has done so well, is provide precisely that illusion. I mean, it's not as that, you say, look, you don't get out of bed in the morning thinking, gosh, look at my biological
My neurons
drive.
are firing, yeah.
Of course not, because if I did, then the whole evolutionary purpose that this illusion serves would fall away. I mean, you say that this is a fairly purposeless life, and perhaps the implication is that it's a bit of a depressing one. I didn't come here to inspire optimism in people. I just think it is in fact the case.
By the way.
It is in fact the case that free will doesn't exist, and we may feel very nihilistic towards that, but as a wise man once said, facts don't care about your feelings. And I will say that the argument against free will, in my view, is based upon something broader than just scientific analysis or empirical research. Rather, we can build an argument, I think, from a law of logic, the proposition that P must either be true or false, and it can't be both, it can't be neither. It has to be one or the other. Now, this law of the excluded middle, one of the foundational precepts of philosophy, we can simply ask a question of any kind of mental activity, and this will be regardless of whether it's material or immaterial. That's what makes this a crucial argument, and an important one, a pertinent one, is that you can ask of that mental activity, is it determined or is it not? That is it determined by anything else, or is it completely undetermined by anything? If it's undetermined by anything, then it's random, and you're by definition not in control of that.
True.
If it's determined by something,
that's a great point.
Then it's either determined by something further inside your mind, or inside your brain, or indeed inside your soul, or it's determined by something external to your brain. If it's determined by something external to yourself, I should say yourself rather than your brain here to rid this conversation of any implicit materialism, exterior to yourself, if that's what's determining the action, then clearly you're not in ultimate control of that action. If it's something inside of yourself somewhere, then all you do is push
he's
the problem
out debate
back and
broing
ask
the
question
debate,
again.
bro.
Is that thing
That's his whole thing.
determined, or is it
You can't just do
indeterminate?
that.
It's indeterminate, it's random, determined. You keep going back until you either terminate in something outside of the self,
At least it used to be his whole thing.
or I suppose something undetermined and therefore random, either of which you are completely out of control in. If you say that it terminates in something like a soul, people like to do this. They say, well, look, with a religious philosophy,
I agree, Queen
we have the
Laura.
benefit of introducing a soul. That doesn't solve anything. Because you still need to, it's not a matter of having to explain the mechanism by which the soul brings about actions. That may well be a mystery. But if it is the case that whatever it is that's doing that is either determined or it's not, and that if it's not, it's random and therefore out of your control, and that if it is, it ultimately terminates in something outside of yourself or something random, and both of which are out of your control, free will cannot exist.
Well,
so I would be careful.
That argument does rely on the complete deconstruction of the self. Right? I mean, you're using the term self in this argument in, I think, a couple of different ways. You're saying something outside yourself, but then you're breaking down the self into a bunch of separate components as though the self is a computer. Right? As though if you took the self and you broke it down into a machine, and there's like there's the microchip, and you've got the processor, you got all these different parts of it. So it has to.
Well, that's what the self is. You can't get around that. The brain has several different parts, and if you take out any of those parts, you could, not necessarily, but you could drastically change that person forever. Their whole mood, their whole personality, everything about that person. You could say their soul has been changed. Okay? Wow, that was pathetic. They're not the same person if you do that. Okay? We have evidence of this. So you cannot get around that reality, Ben.
It has to be coming from here, or it has to be coming from here. But I think the very idea
The
that
body's
we have
made up of many
ourselves
different parts.
as selves
Many
is
different
as a
parts.
deciding being. And so the attempt to carve that down
Yes,
into
many
so which parts
times,
of the
at
deciding
least
being,
4 or 5
that is an
that I
avoidance
know of.
strategy. And so
Ever.
I don't think that the argument quite holds.
Well, if we can call the self just a deciding
Call it
being,
a deciding being.
then that sort of fundamental assumption that we make about the nature of the self, I don't think is going to be incompatible with atheism.
How so?
Because we're talking about what the self is here. I mean, atheists believe in the self. Everybody believes in the self.
Well, no, that's not. I mean, that I find difficult to believe. Why would an atheist believe in the self? The self is a series of non-deciding mechanisms, as you
I
described.
think, therefore I am.
I see that your view of the
That's
self
why
is,
we
is
believe
an
in the
atheist
self.
view of the self.
You have
a
to.
Meatball wandering through space.
If you don't believe in the self, then you're not even like a real fucking person. You have, right? Am I wrong on this? I feel like you have to, like, even if you're a person, right? Even if you're a person who thinks that like consciousness is completely premeditated, you know, you're just a bunch of chemicals sloshing around in a big meat bag, and everything you do is predetermined, et cetera, et cetera. Like, even if that is the case, there is still a part of you that is you. Okay? I think, therefore I am. That's what it's called. I forget which philosopher came up with that. It was some Latin guy or something. But I learned this in high school. I think, therefore I am. Okay? I know a lot of people, I say that like I have some esoteric knowledge. A lot of people know this. But point is, you have to believe in the self if you are a person that exists. Descartes. Thank you.
Somewhat colorfully, the sort of Spinoza idea that you're a stone that's been thrown, and you can comprehend that you've been thrown, but you're a stone that's been thrown, and that's just the way that it is. why would there be in atheist philosophy such a thing as a deciding self? The deciding self, the deciding being, is external to the idea of an evolutionary cause, because the very word deciding suggests uncaused decision making, and you've just excluded it through your own philosophy.
Uncaused decision making, I suppose, is a concept that I think is unintelligible, and therefore, if there is an unintelligibility of the self on atheism, I suppose the thrust of the criticism that I made to essentially every point you made in that video, except for the argument from motion, is that what you're saying to me, if it applies to atheism, I think simultaneously applies to theism as well.
How so?
An uncaused decision. I mean, what is the process by which a decision is made?
But now you're falling into the same sort of argument that I excluded at the beginning, which was I said that the beauty of religion is that there's a bunch of stuff I don't understand. So I can't explain to you how the uncaused self makes decisions.
Well, then I can't explain to you how the uncaused self exists on an atheistic
But you have a
framework.
burden and I don't. Meaning that
I don't think that's the case.
Hold on.
I mean,
hold on. I'm losing it a little bit. The uncaused self. I got to go back. Hold on.
The simple fact is, I can't, which was I said, but now
intelligibility of the self on atheism. I suppose the thrust of the criticism that I made to essentially every point you made in that video, except for the argument from motion, is that what you're saying to me, if it applies to atheism, I think simultaneously applies to theism as well.
How so?
An uncaused decision. I mean, what is the process by which a decision is made?
But now you're falling into the same sort of argument that I excluded at the beginning, which was I said that the beauty of religion is that there's a bunch of stuff I don't understand. So I can't explain to you how the uncaused self makes decisions.
Well, then
I can't explain to you how the uncaused self makes decisions. Okay.
I can't explain to you how the uncaused self exists on an atheistic
But you have a
framework.
burden and I don't. Meaning that
I don't think that's the case.
You do, though. I mean, the simple fact is that you are the one who's claiming that a reasonable materialist universe is the cause of all. And so, if that's the case, you do have to explain the mechanism in a way that I certainly do not. My entire philosophy rests on the positing of an entire realm of things I don't understand in terms of their interaction with.
So your entire philosophy is we don't understand it and we shouldn't try to, is basically what you're saying. Like, there's no reason to try to, crack open the big old can of worms that is consciousness and free will and try to understand it better. Like, there's no reason to, really, if you really think about it. I guess Ben's right on that front, right? It's so stupid. Well, I don't have to explain anything.
The world. Now, as I said at the very
I'm
beginning,
Ben Shapiro.
that
I
leaves
don't
me a
have to
giant
explain
escape
it.
hatch.
You do.
I'm not going to pretend that that's not a giant escape hatch. It acts in practice as a giant escape hatch. It also tends to act as a fundamental principle of faith, right? Again, in every moral realm, right? When we get to the problem of good and evil, right? One of the big questions is, well, how can God allow evil to take place in the world?
True.
And the fundamental religious answer, as it has been for thousands of years, is my mind is not God's, which is a giant escape hatch. It also happens to be true from a religious point of view.
So if I may, that there are...
Okay, but you're just well, you know what you're doing then. You're just what is it called? Self-reporting at that point. Like, you understand what you're doing and the implications of what you're doing, and you still do it. That makes it a bad argument. That doesn't make your argument any better, You can't just be like, oh, well, evil exists, but God is all good and all knowing and all powerful. And so, you have to square that circle. You can't just be like, well, I don't know what's in God's head. If he's all good, all knowing, and all powerful, then evil should not exist. Because he had to have created evil. If you believe that he's all good, all knowing, and all powerful, he had to have created it or allow it to continue existing. He's a wussy. I don't have to explain anything. Exactly. No, Ben is, I can see why people would think that he's doing well if you're not like privy to what's happening, because he's holding himself well intellectually. He's using the good words, basically, is what I'm saying. He's using big words and he's saying them quickly. And so that comes off well to his audience. But if you understand exactly what they're saying, he's not making good arguments. This is a very poor job by Ben so far.
Two sort of escape hatches here. There are two appeals to mystery going on here. And it seems to me that what you're saying is something along the lines of
pulling out the
my
lingo.
appeal, my simple appeal to mystery here is disallowed in the way that you're allowed to appeal to this this mystery because I'm the one making the claim. I think that in
not because I'm the one making the claim, but because
I'm the one with the burden.
In
the context of this discussion,
sorry, I'm missing the who's the you and the who's the I in
yes.
a sense, but yes.
I see what you mean. I'm speaking for myself there.
Sorry.
If in the context of this discussion, this began, the subject which I think is the first one you bring up in this video, free will. Here's this thing that I think exists, and on the basis of its existence, think entails the existence of a God, or at least points to the existence of a God. I shouldn't say entail. And then when I say that I don't think that the concept of free will is intelligible, and you say, well, how is it intelligible on atheism? And I say, I'm not sure it is, but it's not on theism either. And you say, well, there's my escape hatch. I can appeal to mystery. I don't think the burden is on me there. I think you were the one who's making the claim that free will does exist, that there is this mysterious property of the universe
Actually, that's
that
not
escapes this
so,
determined or indeterminate dichotomy. And then when I say that this is unintelligible to me and based on what I see to be fundamentally appeal to a law of logic, suddenly I'm the one making the claim. I'm the one with the burden who has to do the proving.
No, the actual claim that I originally made, if you recall, was a conditional claim.
Mm-hmm.
I did not claim free will exists, therefore God. I claimed if you believe free will exists, it cannot exist in a materialist universe. Now, you say, okay, fine, it doesn't exist in a materialist universe. I don't believe in free will.
Yes.
That's fine. That's totally plausible. As I said right at the top
okay.
here, I'm not going to prove to you that God exists today.
So he is saying that he doesn't believe in free will. Is he just doing that for the sake of the debate, or does he actually not believe that free will exists? Because I personally do believe that it exists. So I disagree with him on that front. But I do still love seeing Ben Shapiro get intellectually dusted. So it's true he doesn't believe that. Oh, that's interesting. He first said a genie exists, so therefore farewell. No, he's speaking around it. If God knows everything that will happen, there's only one possible series of events. That's true, actually. That's true. If God already has a plan in motion, then there's really nothing, there's no free will here. You're just a puppet at that point. That's true.
What I am going to say is that the vast majority of people throughout nearly all of human history have believed there is a thing called a self. It is a deciding self that makes these decisions. If you are a person who believes that, you're right. It can't exist in your world. So I'm not saying that it does exist. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're totally right, and all of this is just a series of chemical firings. That's quite plausible. That's fine.
It has
what
to
I have
be.
said,
When you boil
and
it
this is
down,
the
that's
argument
what it
that
is.
hasn't yet been rebutted, that society does require an extraordinary number of people to believe that they are capable of making decisions for the good or for the bad. Because, again, not everybody is you. Not everybody is capable of waking up in the morning, putting one half of their brain on hold, the side that says what I'm doing today doesn't matter, and we are all going to wind up in the cosmic nothingness of space anyway, and the sun's going to explode and eat the earth. Most people don't function that way.
Yeah, but if you... So even if you think that the concept of free will is an illusion, you can still enjoy life. You know what I mean? Like, if you think that you're in a simulation and there's nothing you can do about it, why would you be like, oh, I might as well suffer and not ever do anything fun, right? All of my actions are predetermined. Might as well just lay around and shit myself and not do anything, right? Like, no. Enjoy it. Like, you still have the illusion of free will, so it might as well be the real thing. Just fucking enjoy it at that point. I don't know. It wouldn't make any sense to me to just let that go to waste. Yeah, it's a comfortable one, exactly. In my consequentialist view, it does us more good to believe in free will than to not believe in it.
And so a functional society,
So I
a
believe
society
in it.
that actually works, relies on people actually believing that their fate is in their hands. And
We're going
the
in
way that people
circles.
tend to understand that on a day-to-day level is, I get up in the morning and I make a decision whether I'm taking my kids to school today. I get up in the morning and I decide whether I'm giving charity today. I get up in the morning and I decide whether to go to
Do
a
you?
job today. Because the truth is that for a huge number of people, and I would say this
Do
is
the
true for
peasants
virtually-
deserve
not
my
virtually all,
charity
many,
today?
I'd say the majority of people, if they were informed since the time they were small that their decision-making process does not exist, there is no decision to be made. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. Those decisions have no moral weight in the universe because the universe has no moral weight. There is no way to create a functional society on the basis of these premises. There may be a Platonic world where philosophers, can think about this in the gardens of their imagination and feel great about it, but that's not actually how society
Yeah, but there's
functions.
still
not for
okay.
children,
No,
not
that's
for teenagers,
wrong.
Not for adults.
That's wrong because there's still an entity. Oh shit! You can say that it benefits us to behave as though there's free will. I don't know what his answer will be. Because I personally believe in free will, but I still believe it's also a series of chemical reactions. It's complicated. fuck was I saying? Sorry, I keep losing what I'm saying.
And we're going to go on and talk about that in the second section. I had free will to ask any of the questions I've had written down here, but I just didn't want to. I didn't want to stop either of you. It's been breathless and captivating. I'm sure you'll agree. Before we go to our first break, we are going to go on and talk about society and how morality...
Society. We live in
undergirds
one.
Society and civilization.
May I just say, just I know we're coming to the end of the section. Just to close off this moment.
Oh, I'm gonna die.
If people listening agree with me that free will in fact doesn't exist, and simultaneously agree with you that free will is somehow necessary for the upkeep of civilization, then I would simply ask them to consider who's relying on the delusion here. You know.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that as an insult, but you see what I'm saying, right?
I totally agree. And so from my argument, you would be, and from your argument, I would be. Meaning, I think that you are delusional. There's no free will, and you think
I
I'm
want to go back.
delusional in the sense that information.
Then and simultaneously that I just say, just I know we're coming to the end of the section. Just to close off this moment, that if people listening agree with me that free will in fact doesn't exist, and simultaneously agree with you that free will is somehow necessary for the upkeep of civilization, then I would simply ask them to consider who's relying on the delusion here. You know.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that as an insult, but you see what I'm saying, right?
I totally agree. And so from my argument, you would be, and from your argument, I would be. Meaning, I think that
Sorry, I don't quite understand. I'm gonna make myself food real quick. Be right back. Okay. Thank you all for waiting. I am back. I have acquired food. How cold is it around you? The north is getting a freeze. Yeah, it's pretty cold. What's the temperature right now? Oh no, wait, I wouldn't want to pull that up. It'll show my location. Never mind. The temperature is whatever it is in General, Ohio. The local Ohio region.
That you are delusional, there's no free will, and you think
That's
I'm delusional
okay.
in the sense that there is no free will, and yet I believe in it.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for you, Alex, just before we go to the break, then, because we're trying to break it down.
I know you weren't trying to dox me.
Insane
It's fine.
minds here, really kind of grappling, and I feel as though I won a
Grappling.
prize in a competition just to be here sitting with you both. To break it down for
Okay, I will hear this. I will listen to this much better with headphones. Hold on. UADHD and autists know what it is.
the viewers, Alex, would you
Much
say
better.
that free will is maybe, if there is no such thing as free will, is it nevertheless a helpful fiction for people, a convenient narrative that we can cling to sort of bat away despair?
That's a good question.
Precisely why it evolved, in my
Yeah.
view. I think I totally understand that, but because it evolved so
Cool.
strongly, I will say that we are all, if we are sort of delusory in our belief in free will. I mean, you're quite right in saying that I act as if free will exists in the sense of not constantly being aware that it doesn't. I don't wake up and do those
True.
strange morning affirmations that you mentioned into the mirror about, you know, the sort of
Maybe-
heat death of the
maybe-
universe. But,
maybe you
but
should.
people, I think it is good to reflect on your mortality in that manner every once in a while, and it does inspire some serious thought about whether you're really taking your philosophy seriously. But I will say that
That's fair.
the mechanism is so useful and has been so successful in embedding itself into our psyche that we cannot shake it off. So I can I can have conversations with people, as I do regularly, talking about the existence of free will, and they come away saying, you know what, that's extraordinary, maybe you're right about this. And nothing about the way they live their life changes, precisely because of the fact that the very argument I'm making relies on the assumption that we will still be driven by our drives. All I'm doing is identifying what's actually going on there, in my view. It doesn't actually change what happens or what the brain indeed does.
That's
So
fair.
the utility argument.
I still think it's kind of doomer. I don't know. I like free will. I like believing in it. I'm going to believe in it.
For what you're saying about free will is that the main utility in you saying these things is for people not to believe
Good
you
argument, though.
in the end.
We are predetermined to go to a break at this point. So we're going to continue this. You're watching and listening to the big conversation.
And yes, the consequence of that would be that everything is predetermined from the Big Bang or even before.
From Premiere,
Which I also don't
Unbelievable,
like.
with me, your host, Andy Kind. I've been joined today by Alex O'Connor and Ben Shapiro, and we are having
My personal theory, and I have no proof for this, but no evidence, but my personal theory is that conscious beings are more likely to have come from conscious matter than from unconscious matter. And what I mean by that is everything has consciousness at some level. I'm not saying that everything I'm not saying that if I crush this can, it's going to hurt the can or anything like that. What I'm saying is there is some level of experience at every level of existence. You know what I mean? To me, it makes more sense that conscious beings come from conscious matter at some level. So when we die, we'd basically have our consciousness woven back into the fabric of the universe, and we would kind of just be like this big mushy pile of experience, you know, not real. Like it's complicated, but do you guys catch what I'm getting at? That's cool. You're and psychism. What? Nah, until we get understanding quantum, you have no standing. I know I have no standing. This is completely baseless. I understand this is completely baseless. This is all hunches and vibes. I just like it. I just think it's neat. Okay, that's my hippy dippy weirdo. I don't know, theory. It's just a theory. It's too soon. Too soon to be making just a theory jokes.
A fascinating
Grass can scream when you cut it,
conversation
yeah.
about religion and whether it's good or bad for society. There's lots more to come, so we'll be back
Let's
after
go.
this short break. Enjoying the conversation? Tell us who persuaded you in our survey. And if you want more from today's conversation, then register to get early access to the next show. Welcome back to the big conversation from Premiere Unbelievable with me, your host, Andy Kine. Today, our topic is religion. Is it good or bad for society?
Definitely
and I've
bad.
been joined by Ben Shapiro and Alex
That's correct.
O'Connor.
You win.
And in the first section, we basically solved the problem of free will. That's done. No one need
Did we?
write on that ever again. So congratulations. That's another credit for you.
Yeah, I think on the delusion point, we terminated in something like an "I know you are, but what am I?"
Correct.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And my dad can beat up your dad's. So
True.
let's move on.
You
in
should
this
just say
section
that.
to
There's a
talking
conversation
about
under.
another easily solved question, morality and its role in society. So, Alex, we started with Ben in the first section.
And
Let's start
psychism,
with
yeah.
you. What for you makes an outcome good or bad? And feel free to break that down, define things as you want. And how do we determine what is good and acceptable in society?
Here is where I may disappoint you and potentially excite Mr. Shapiro in that I don't have a good answer to that question. In that, obviously, attempts have been made for a long time to ground good.
That's a
outside of
really
God.
fundamental
I must say
question.
that similarly to rehash the same theme, I think there
Or
are
esoteric, not
issues with
fundamental.
grounding good in God as well. I don't think that removes the problem. I don't quite know what good is, if it indeed exists. I'm quite suspicious of the concept. I think it might be another one of these unfortunately quite nihilistic evolutionary sort of illusions of a sort. I guess I ascribe to emotivism more than anything, which has sort of gone out of fashion in the past decade, but I think still has some truth to it in a sense. It's more of a philosophy of language than it is a philosophy of what good and bad actually is. What I do know, however, is that there are problems, I think, with trying to ground morality in the existence of a God, especially if it's done so on the grounds that it essentially can't be done anywhere else. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the religions of the world are false. I think that they are incorrect. That is, I don't think there really is a supernatural authority. And what that means is that the
That's fair.
inventions of religious morality
I'm the same way.
are just those, inventions, and inventions of a human mind. Now, if you have a human morality that recognizes that it is essentially a series of...
Oh yeah, well, if they're from the human mind, then why did humans come up with them? A god must have told them to come up with them. Haha, checkmate, atheist. Dumbass.
compromises between the history of mankind trying to get along with each other on a planet.
Correct.
Then what happens is sometimes these ideas and these philosophies rub up against the real world, and
Ooh, that's
we
hot.
can adapt them as necessary. Now, there is a deep problem with this, and that is, if I meet a man who wants to kill me, or a friend,
There's a deep problem, and it only gets deeper every time you rub up against the real world.
and he says that he doesn't believe in God, there's very little I can do to talk him out of that, except I can threaten him with legal sanction, I can threaten him with moral reproach, exclusion from the moral community, but there's not much more I can do. However, if a person says that he wants to kill me, and he believes that he wants to kill me because God has told him to do so, then I don't even have that minimal reproach available to me, because there is no law written by any man of any time that could ever count one iota against the dictates of the creator of the universe.
True.
Therefore, if that God in fact does not exist, and if these moralities are in fact human inventions, then what you have in the grounding of an ethical system in the dictates, allegedly, of the creator of the universe is all of the arbitrariness and subjectivity and failure and faults of nihilism and human
Queen
invented
Laura.
morality, with all of the certainty and all of the faith and all of the unanswerability of the creator of the universe. That to me seems a dangerous cocktail that we drink at our peril.
So many things there, and so
True.
much that you're saying is
Very
quite
good.
brilliant. I actually thought you were going in a different direction with that last example, which I'll explain.
He's
in a
gonna
second.
waffle.
Yeah, to
Watch
to
blood
start
waffle,
with
boys.
The very beginning, obviously, the idea of
Blood
right
is
and
finna
wrong.
waffle.
So there are many problems with the motivism. Alistair McIntyre does a good job sort of breaking down the problems with the motivism. But the sort of idea that there have to be certain moral absolutes that are beyond contention, and those moral absolutes have to be universally accepted. You can ground that, I suppose, in a sort of descriptive universe. The problem is that
I want to hear that one more time. I'm sorry.
And those moral absolutes have to be certain. But the sort of idea that there have to be certain moral absolutes that are beyond contention, and those moral absolutes have to be universally accepted. You can ground that, I suppose, in a sort of descriptive universe. The problem is that, to go back to your example, which again I think is a really interesting one, if a man comes to kill me, I think the real question of religion versus non-religion in the utility sphere here is it more likely that a man is going to come to kill you being a devotee of a religion that says that he must kill you? Or is it more likely that a man is going to kill you out of self-interest because he is not a devotee of a God who says that killing is wrong?
I don't know if you can really prove one way or the other on that one. But, like, people kill other people. Like, here's the thing. Why would you give people an extra motivation to kill you? You know what I mean? Like, why even open the door for a God, quote unquote, to tell somebody that it's okay to kill you? You know? Like, I feel like that's just an extra avenue. Why would you pronounce devotee that way? I don't know. I didn't hear I pronounced it.
So if you are faced with these two alternatives, to kind of remove your example one step, the question is why the man has come to kill you. I mean, that's your premise is the man has come to kill you because God told him to, and so he can't be dissuaded by force. Agreed. We see that full scale in the real world on a fairly regular basis. It is also true that over the course of human history, men have come to kill one another on the basis of self-interest in extraordinary amounts of the time. Tribal self-interest particularly.
And guess how they justify it? They justify it by saying, God told me to, okay? Even if they cognitively know that they're doing this out of self-interest, the way that they're going to justify it to everybody else, because they know how bad it looks to kill people out of self-interest. It looks very bad, as it turns out. So in order to justify it, you say, well, God told me to. God told me that they were the devil, and the devil was inside of them, and I had to kill them. That's why I killed them. Even though he knows he did it for money or land or prowess or whatever else, okay? But that's how they justify it.
Having no particular relationship with God, just the idea that I want to kill you over territory, I want to kill you over
allows people to
resources,
get
I
away
wanna
with
kill you
this
because
shit.
you're not a member of my immediate kin family, or because you killed a member of my kin family, and so in revenge, I need to kill a member of your kin family. The entire, to borrow from your language, the entire sort of evolution of religion on a utility basis would have been to create moral absolutes that are applicable more broadly than to you and your friends. Any morality that can be created on an individual level is inherently dangerous because you can immediately graft that morality onto your personal self-interest. The entire purpose...
Well, that's why morality has to be created on a societal level, because it has to involve other people. Like, I guess you could do it on like, any morality is going to involve other people, or at least other entities, right? Like living entities. Like, I don't know. I feel like that's a weird way to put it.
Of religion, whether you want to ground that in evolutionary brain functionings, or whether you want to ground that in revelation. The entire purpose of religion on you.
But I think what he's saying is, if the morality comes from yourself, like, which by the way, it doesn't. It comes from influences from outside of the self. Like, everything that you are is an influence from outside of yourself. Okay, it has to be. That's how you're shaped. That's how you develop. That's how, that's just how you are, okay, as a person. You are your experiences. So, I keep losing my train of thought. I'm sorry. What was he saying?
Whether you want to ground that in evolutionary brain functionings, or whether you want to ground that in revelation. The entire purpose of religion on a utility level is to remove morality from the purview of my special interest, and to say, here are things that I cannot do, even if they are in my interest, because there is a higher power that says I cannot do these things.
I'm sorry, I completely trailed off there. I might have to end before I get to the end of this.
I think that a society that does not have these moral absolutes is in deep trouble. A society that refuses to say that there are certain absolutes that cannot be crossed under any circumstances that are universally applicable, it reduces things that we all take for granted, like equal justice before the law, like the idea that the law is supposed to equally apply to everybody, whether they're a member of your family or whether they're not. And there are broad cultural differences in these questions. I mean, to pretend that all human societies have equality under law is obviously not true. It's not even remotely true, actually. There's a very good book called The Weirdest People in the World, all about the idea that we in the West have this sort of ethnocentric view of ourselves where we think everybody thinks like people in the West, but the truth is that because we are Western educated, industrialized, rich and democratic, we have particular views of the world. Those views are drawn from a particularistic tradition. That particularistic tradition is biblical in nature. I mean, it is Judeo-Christian in nature, even if you're just describing European society or American society historically speaking. So the kind of removal of God from the equation, your suggestion is that God makes a person impervious to countervailing responses. And my answer is yes, God does make a person impervious to countervailing responses.
If a person believes that they've been commanded by God to do something, they will go fucking do it. Nothing on earth can stop that person from achieving that goal except for physics. Like if God tells them to jump off the building because they'll fly, that person's going to try to fucking fly, okay? If they believe God told them to. So that is true. But I do think that the counter to this is what he was saying is people use religion to justify things that are selfish in nature. That's what the counter needs to be, because Ben is trying to assume that that's not the case. That the only way religion even factors into this is if the person is delusional about God telling them to kill somebody. You know what I mean? Yeah, taking a nap seems more productive than this debate. I agree. Are people society or is there religion society? I don't know if you're asking me that or not.
Including the evils of one's own heart, if you truly believe that God is standing above you, telling you not to do that thing. And again, social science tends to bear this out. People who believe that God is above them tend to do charity, for example.
Sorry, I'm tired.
People who tend to live inside religious communities, within the religious community. And I'm not going to pretend that I think all religions are equivalent in their truth propositions, because
we know you think that.
If I did, I wouldn't be wearing a
yarmulke. We know what you think about Muslims, Ben. It's fine.
Okay, right.
Well, it's not fine, but we know.
Just what it is. Inside religious communities, a lot of social bonds and a lot of social frameworks are built on the basis of this shared belief system. In other words, diversity itself, self-interest, cannot always check self-interest, and it tends to tear apart societies and communities unless there is an orienting goal. That orienting goal traditionally has been performed by church. It's been traditionally performed by the idea that you are serving God together. And because of that, people build these social bonds, including the institution.
He's describing group activities. You can achieve the same thing with a rec center. It doesn't have to be a church.
Police, for example, to prevent people from killing each other, because we now all agree that killing is wrong. So
you know how you prevent people from killing each other? Make them like each other, okay? Have them spend an extended amount of time together, all right? Because even if they don't like each other, they at least won't fucking hate each other and want to kill each other, okay? There are a lot of things that I don't like about various family members of mine, but I certainly don't want to kill any of them, all right? It's too much effort, okay? And that sounded really bad, but the point is, like, even if I did want to kill them, there's so many things keeping me from doing it, okay? It's a lot of effort, and I don't want people to come back and kill me, and I don't want to get caught, and this and that. There's so much that goes into not killing somebody or killing somebody, okay? It's not just a matter of, oh, well, I don't believe in God, so I'm just going to go kill people. That's not how that works, man. There's a lot of other things to consider. Like, do I even want to kill? I have no inclination to kill. Like, why is it assumed that if I don't believe in God, I'm going to want to kill people? Is that a self-admission, Ben? Are you telling us something? Do you need to speak to us about something? Something want to get off your chest, maybe? Like, it just grows.
To have a third party that we can actually give the power to stop that killing. So, again, I think that the question
right,
of utility here
it.
is one of whether you think that the chief danger is that people are going to believe in a God who tells them to kill in God's name, or whether you think that the chief danger is in man's own heart, and that man is going to be driven by his own self-interest to commit murder, and then
while using religion as the reasoning,
call it something else.
I think it's all very well and good when this religious tradition is protecting what you think is good. But as we know, it can do the exact opposite, and it can do so with the same force.
Yep. Sure.
And I suppose the question we have to ask is whether this is a worthwhile trade-off. That is to say, you know, that there may be...
I do think, by the way, that religion has outlived its usefulness. I think that society would be better off without it. I don't begrudge anybody for their religion. I don't want to like enforce any kind of religious beliefs on anybody or non-beliefs. But I do think that if everybody were to decide tomorrow that God is no longer real and we're all agnostic atheists or whatever, I think that we'd be much, much, much better off.
Some social utility in putting our fundamental ethical assumptions outside of the realm of debate. But when those ethical statements begin to inspire what we would probably consider to be less than socially cohesive behavior, there is nothing you can do, nothing to talk people out of them, because precisely because that's where they've placed them. And
yeah, they're told you don't need proof, you need faith. All right, that is a tenet of Christianity, at least. Probably Judaism as well. Probably all three of the the big three monotheistic religions, if I had to guess, in some capacity, I'm sure.
That seems dangerous.
No, you don't need proof. Just believe, because I said so.
For example, you know, a lot of people talk about how religion can make people happier. It can make people more socially cohesive. It can promote people to start families and have children. This is true of most religions. This is also true of Islam, which I'm not sure you would want to say. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm not sure you'd want to say is a force for good in the world. I don't think, in other words, that it's always a worthwhile trade-off. Now,
I agree with you, by the way.
Just because you mentioned how the sort of culture of Europe and its success.
I just want to make sure you know that. I'm also
is
smart.
indebted to Christianity. I mean, this is of course true in a sense, but
Ben is, I really, okay, he's not showing it too much, but just there, I think he let it slip a little bit that he feels challenged by this guy. Like he has to out-intellect him, you know what I mean? Because this guy is flexing the IQ muscles. He is flexing the Reddit, like I feel like this guy has taken like 50 IQ tests, you know what I mean? Like he does strike me as that arrogant. I don't know him, but he gives off that air. And I feel like Ben is very intimidated. It's funny to watch.
There's been a recent revival, it seems. I don't really know quite how it's happened. I think it's got a lot to do with Tom Holland, maybe. That's the historian, not the superhero.
I was going to say, what?
This idea that
Although
actually...
he's good too.
Actually, the great... I wonder what he would have to say on all of this. The Western civilization sort of depends and should be in gratitude to a religious tradition because it provided this kind of ethical framework in which this could have arisen. We hear about the scientific enlightenment. We hear about, you know, the grounding of ethics and God, the creation of natural rights, as if these things weren't established in resistance all the way along to the religious tradition.
True.
A society that today, I'll expand on this if you like. A society today that decides that religion throughout
most of the good things that we have today came as a result despite religious backlash. You know what I mean? Like the religious people, like the religious institutions were the ones keeping us from good things. And it was only with like these struggles, sometimes with blood, right? Bodies, human lives, were we able to like achieve certain moral values that we hold dearly in our society.
History has been wrong about the position of women in society, wrong about the mortal fate of practicing homosexuals, wrong about the position of the earth in relation
Not
to
if you ask Ben.
wrong about the age of both of those
Oh no, I really hope they get into I want to hear Ben be homophobic. I don't know what it is. I need it. You know what it is? It's just like it's classic Ben. Okay? I used to watch Ben Shapiro unironically. But like he does have a charm about him, okay? You can't deny. He's got a little bit of the riz.
Celestial bodies. Wrong about the common evolutionary ancestry of every
like
animal,
geeky,
including the
he's
human
cute.
animal on planet Earth. Wrong about the ownership of other human beings as private property. Now has to contend with a religious tradition that doesn't come to us with contrition and apology and say, well, maybe we were wrong about these things. But no, these are all our things after all. We're going to claim these things. That is, you know, I know that St. Paul says, I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to usurp authority over a man. Rather, she should remain.
Same thing the fucking capitalists did after unions worked for years to attain workers' rights and have, you know, make it so that their children didn't have to work in the factories and get their fingers chopped off just to get a decent meal once a day. You know, same exact fucking thing capitalists do. Oh, look, it works so perfectly. We have 8-hour work days and 40-hour weeks, and we have the minimum wage, and you have good working conditions now. And it's like we didn't always have this shit. It wasn't given to us out of the generosity of fucking Jeff Bezos. You know what I mean? So it's always the same story.
Silent, for Adam was formed first, then Eve, and that
Assholes
man is the glory
taking
of
credit
God,
for
but
the
woman
good
is
things.
the glory of man.
After
But don't
they
you know that the
fought
social
against
justice
them for
movement is essentially
years.
Judeo-Christian in origin? I know that the Old Testament not only explicitly condones the ownership of other human beings as private property, but gives detailed instructions about exactly how to buy and indeed take them, sometimes including as sexual property. But don't you know that the abolitionist movement was essentially Judeo-Christian in origin? Yes, I know that Galileo was shown the instruments of torture by the Inquisition for having the temerity to suggest that the Earth might orbit the Sun rather than the other way around. But don't you know that the scientific revolution, which he authored, was essentially Judeo-Christian in origin? I'd find it funny if it wasn't so offensive to the people who established these very developments against the very religious traditions that now want to claim them as their own.
Okay, so I would buy that, except for the fact that many of the people that you mention in these contexts.
Look at him shrug his shoulders forward, hunching over. It's just a little bit. He's not hunching quite that much, but he's got a little bit. I don't know. He's got his hands between his legs. It looks like I don't know. He looks very submissive and breedable here. That's all I'm saying.
Explicitly counted themselves as religious believers and were speaking in the name of
He just
the
looks
religion while they're doing it.
closed
So we
off.
take the abolitionist
He looks
movement
guarded.
as an example. I mean, William Wilberforce, obviously a tremendously religious person and a big believer in the New Testament. Isaac Newton, obviously deeply ensconced in the New Testament, right? Yeah, certainly important to the scientific revolution. The point about religion, and this is why when I wrote my book, I have to name the title now and plug myself because that's the way
You
that
got to
works.
wave
the right
around
side, yeah,
on
the
the
right side of
camera.
history. But the
Go
reason
ahead.
that
No,
I talked
it's
about how
cute. It's
reason and
cute.
moral
Go ahead.
purpose made the West
Let
is
him have
because
this.
I think that one of the fundamental precepts of at least Judeo-Christian religion is that when God gives a text or a set of ideas to human beings, he expects us to use our reason to apply to those texts. And so the sort of evolution of interpretation is part of the religious tradition. I mean, that's always been the case in my religion anyway. So I always hesitate to speak on behalf of other people's religions because I don't know them nearly as well as I know my own. So when I talk about sort of the application of...
And yet, you think you know Islam well enough to say that they like to wallow in sewage. Remember that? That was a banger, Ben. That was quite the line.
Reason to tradition. In the religious tradition, obviously we have books and books and books of texts discussing and debating these very ideas, and the idea of religious debate has always been central to the idea of Judeo-Christian religion, and when it hasn't been, it's been seen as repressive and has spawned then other Christian movements that then argue with the original movement and end up generating in almost Hegelian fashion some new form of interpretation. The point that I'm making is that outside that framework it doesn't exist, meaning that once if the argument is over interpretation of particular biblical verses in a context in which there is a God who puts certain moral precepts beyond human judgment, those arguments you can have without threatening the entire social structure. What is very difficult is to have a social structure at all in the absence of fundamental moral precepts that are presupposed by everyone. And I think one of the reasons that you're seeing...
Well, you don't need a reason. You don't need a God to tell you to presuppose these things for everybody. The whole fucking point of society is that we all agree on certain fundamental principles that will keep us from killing each other, okay? Because killing people is not good for anybody, including the killer, all right? It's just not a good thing. Why? It doesn't help anything. It hurts everything. One person kills another person, and then that person's family member wants to get revenge, so they kill somebody else, and then you have a never-ending chain of people killing each other, and then everybody dies. Okay, an eye for an eye leaves the whole world blind. You ever heard of that? So, like, the whole point of a society is that we all get along and prosper together, okay? You don't need a God. You don't need Sky Daddy to tell you to get along, kids, okay? You should just do that because that's what's beneficial for all of us. Evolutionarily speaking, you can explain that with science.
Seeing a sort of revival of this idea that religion is very important to the West is because one of the things that we have seen is that as religion has become less important to the West, we've seen declining birth rates en masse. We've seen rises in suicidal ideation. We've seen
Yeah, that can possibly be because, It's expensive as shit to have a kid. Are you kidding me? In this economy, I think the fuck not.
Especially over
And
the
I
last
want
10 years.
kids.
Tremendous individual atomization, certainly an extraordinary amount of less social connection. Right? All of these things are things that, frankly, used to be provided by church and these social institutions that, again, were oriented toward a single purpose. So when
Why does it have to be provided by church? Why not provided by the government? Right?
you talk about the idea of less
Oh,
social years,
let me make sure I got that
tremendous individual atomization, certainly an extraordinary amount of less social connection. Right? All of these things.
Sorry, social connection. I thought he was talking about like church charity shit. I don't know why my mind went there. No, social connection. You just do that. You just go out and be social. We have a natural drive to be social. That's why people come to live streams like this, because it's a little bit less intimate, but it's still a way to connect to somebody. Okay, we have a natural inclination to be social, even introverts. Okay, so don't give me that introvert bullshit. And being social requires being polite and getting along with people. It helps all of us to do that.
Are things that, frankly, used to be provided by church and these social institutions that, again, were oriented toward a single purpose. So when you
That's
talk about
silly.
the idea that I'm going to put aside the free will discussion
Church
because I
gave
think,
us
again, it's easy to get
socialness.
caught up in the reversion to the argument that I was making before when you were saying that, can you argue the man out of stabbing you? To use your framework, I mean, you can't argue him out of doing anything. I mean, you're going to say words. The words are going to have an impact. But you can't argue him out of doing anything. But not to get back into.
Hell yeah, you can. You can say, hey man, I know that like all of our actions are presupposed and whatever, and like that like it's already predetermined whether you're going to kill me or not. But like I can tell you that you at least feel like you have a choice in the matter. So I would really appreciate if you could use the illusory will that you have to not kill me, because even if this experience is fake for me, I still enjoy it. I don't know. Like I feel like you could find a way.
To a topic that we've handled, free will is done.
I'm not gonna answer that, although hopefully people will know from
At that point, the problem isn't that they don't believe in free will. The problem is that they're psychotic.
what I said before, that I think it's still sensible to say you can argue somebody out of something. The first half of what you say there is in so many words, I think, what I was saying before, which is that, yes, this goes both ways. That is, thanks be to God when he is able to provide us with the grounding for resisting oppression and throwing off tyranny.
Yeah.
But what about when the same God is used to justify the exact opposite?
Right, but you're going to. The
all I'm
point
saying
making
is that this goes
you're
both
going-
ways.
And
that's the argument. That's the argument I was talking about.
In terms of utility, right? You're building
Very
a
good.
society. Let's say that I won't say you're God. Let's say that you are master of a society,
You're
and you get
God.
to build that
The
society.
woke God.
One of the things that presumably you are going to do is you're going to build in certain things
Nancy
that are
Pelosi.
untouchable. Right? There's going to be certain moral precepts that you're going to build in that are untouchable. And how are you going to justify those things to people such that they are going to believe you? You're going to either have to use compulsion,
Taylor Swift.
or you're going
I
to
would
have
do
to
that.
use some sort of other argument that is so strong that they are going to overweigh their self. I mean, there's a reason why Voltaire suggested he didn't believe in God, but he hoped that his maid did, so she wouldn't steal the silverware.
Yeah, that's an interesting indictment on the position that theists don't say that atheists can't be moral, right? When people have this argument about morality,
Atheists can certainly be moral.
well, oftentimes people have this misunderstanding of the argument. Christopher Hitchens did it best in saying, we don't need divine permission to be good and all of
Yeah,
that.
but even if you say that atheists can be moral, you're saying so that they're moral, like, despite not believing in God. Like, it's a contradiction in their beliefs to be moral as an atheist. You are implying that.
Fine, but as you say, you don't need to believe in God to be good, but you need to
Yes.
believe in God to ground that goodness. But then when you sort of casually throw in this statement by Voltaire, I don't believe in God, but I hope that my maid does. That implies that actually maybe you do think that without the belief in God, somebody isn't going
No,
to
I think
act
that
morally.
Voltaire thought that he was good, meaning that Voltaire was an atheist and thought that he was good. But his point was sort of back to the Straussian Platonic point.
His
that
point was that he hoped his maid believed in God because without that belief, she wouldn't be able to act morally.
right. So another because again when
So
we're
then he would believe by that stretch that the very state of being atheist makes you more prone to doing crime. No, like that's not true.
arguing on the basis of broad societal utility, one of the things. So I happen to be in the happy position of being able to argue that what I think
It's
is
a
socially
self-report,
useful
by the
also
way, by that
happens to
guy.
be true. The question I'm asking you, and I think that's what a lot of this conversation is whether you think that what is socially useful is actually false or an evolutionary illusion. And I think that's kind of the position that you're taking, unless you want to argue that, generally speaking, religion is either not evolutionarily adaptive, which would be a hard position to actually take.
Well, I think it must be, otherwise it wouldn't exist.
Or you would have to argue that it's, even if it's adaptive, it's of no general benefit to humankind or is an illusion, right?
Yes.
I mean, that's the position that you're taking. So one of the things that I'm enjoying about the conversation is that I don't think either of us are going to argue each other in anything, but it is clarifying what exactly the lines of the division are.
Yes, to backtrack a moment, because you said more than one thing in what I just responded to, you also mentioned,
Yes,
well, you talked about
being
Isaac Newton being
true.
a Christian. So, I mean, people were astonished discovering his private notes to find that he spent more time talking about theology than he did science. This is certainly the case, but I do think it's worth pointing out when people like to notice that the originators of the scientific revolution in particular were believers in God. There are a few things to say on that. First, we don't know what Galileo thought in his heart of hearts. And part of the reason for that is because despite tripping over himself to say, now look, I don't think Scripture is wrong. Now look, I believe in God and I am a Christian and I believe in Scripture. But maybe the Earth orbits the Sun. His life falls apart. So suppose he did secretly have doubts about the existence of God. Do you think we'd ever have even found out about it?
And that's an unfalsifiable.
Yeah, exactly. If you're like being persecuted back in the day by like religious institutions saying, hey, if you say you don't believe in God, we'll fucking kill you. Of course you're going to say you believe in God, even if you don't. Oh, okay. Yeah, of course I believe it. Yeah, you know, I love God, Yahweh. Hey, I'm sorry, I was supposed to. Sorry, I meant God. You know, I like God is my point. Yeah, praise God and whatever. Like, of course you're gonna do that. You don't want to fucking die. Nobody wants to die. Usually.
I think not a chance. In other words,
but the lack of falsifiability makes it difficult for me making a counter argument.
In other words, let's not be so
maybe
confident.
Maybe he did have a secret diary, but I have no proof that he had a secret diary.
What I'm saying is, let's not be so confident about this. The second thing to say is that these men, if that's what they were remembered for, that is their theology, then they wouldn't be remembered. Thirdly, is that just on the minor point that people often like to point out that, well, the originators of the scientific revolution were religious, and so science can't conflict with religion. I'm not going to make the claim that science does conflict with religion in principle, but supposing that it did, this would not serve as a rebuttal, because if it were the case that the scientific revolution and the scientific method undermines religion, then of course the people who invented the scientific method would themselves have been religious, because they hadn't invented the mechanism by which it came to be undermined yet.
Yeah,
it
but
would
then
be like
afterward
saying,
they presumably would be irreligious or irreligious, which is what happened to Darwin, for example.
It doesn't happen that quickly, right? It really doesn't. If we're talking about the development of the scientific method, we're not talking about the kind of thing that just happens in a lifetime. I mean, to attribute it to Galileo and Newton as we happily do is far too simplistic. This is something that happens over at least decades.
Right, but you're making
high level
argument and
important ideas coming out of this man's mouth.
Pick one.
And so what I'm saying is that the individual beliefs of the founders of that revolution, I don't think that revolution would have gotten off the ground enough from just their contributions within their lifetime to shake decades of prior faith. However, when you get to someone like a Darwin, then we start to see agnosticism. Then we start to see people having their doubts. And then when you get into the modern era, atheism abounds. And so, in other words, if it were the case that this thesis, which, like I say, is not something that I'm defending here, I'm just sort of rebutting the rebuttal to it. That is, if it were the case that the scientific method were this king of undermining religion, then I think we would expect the fact that those who invented it to have been religious. It would be like saying, isn't it amazing that the person who invented the motor car didn't own a motor car before that?
Well, no, because again, you've now also made the case that perhaps they had secret diaries, or in their heart of hearts, they weren't actually religious or convinced away from that. So again, that's why I'm saying I feel like you're making a broader historical argument that works, and I think you're making an individual argument.
Right, but if you're saying that the scientific method is the thing that started to undermine religion as a concept, the people who made that had to have been religious, because everyone before that point had to have been religious, because there was no scientific method to take that religion away from them. It's an Ouroboros.
That doesn't quite.
I'm not saying that is the case. I'm saying that we would never know why will we never know what Galileo really thought about religion?
Well, I'm going to just accuse you of assuming facts, not in evidence. I mean,
as it turns out, the natural conclusion you're going to come to as a human being with no outside influences is that there's no God. You know why? Because the motherfucker never shows himself, okay? If he wanted to be praised and worshipped so badly, maybe he should get on a fucking stage or at least a live stream, and that way people would know that he exists. You know, I'm just saying, a little bit of presence would be nice.
Like,
Let's move it away from
because again,
Galileo.
you're, like, I don't want to get into the mind of Galileo, nor do I.
said
I care
how
very much.
God
But
knows how many
the
prayers,
reality is that
literally.
many of the people who were the progenitors of the scientific revolution and participants in the scientific revolution specifically were searching for something higher because they thought that that was their godly duty to do so. I mean, this has been true since the time of Roger Bacon. I mean, the idea that you have people who are specifically seeking out the nature of the universe because there's an understandable, again, another religious precept, there's an understandable universe that God has created, and your mind is a reflection of certain truths that are in that universe. These are all non-materialist atheistic concepts. That was the basis for virtually all of science, including the origins of the scientific revolution. Now, you can make the argument very easily. I mean, I make it all the time because I have to metaphoricalize the beginning of Genesis, for example, that the words of Genesis don't jibe with the words of science when it comes to the age of the universe, for example. And obviously that's true, which is why both Maimonides and Aquinas are talking about in the Middle Ages the idea that if science comes into conflict with religion, you're either getting one of them wrong or you're getting both of them wrong. And so the constant sort of reinterpretation of religion in light of the facts that are established by the scientific method, I don't think that that's a rebuttal of religion. And so and more than that, I think that the peculiar...
Wait. No, yeah, if you reinterpret religion after like scientific discoveries, yeah, that is a point against religion because religion is supposed to like explain everything. You know, like it's supposed to be a theory basically of like how the universe works. You know, like that's a belief system. You know, and if that's somehow circumvented by scientific discoveries, like originally Christians believed that the earth was at the center of the universe because of course it was. God put the earth at the center because God, you know, made humans the best, right? God loves us. And they thought the universe was tiny. And, you know, like that was the belief because we're so great, right? God loves us the best. So we're at the center. And so if you contested that and you said, no, actually we're not at the center. It turns out the sun is, at least in our observable universe, they would fucking kill you. You know why they would kill you? Because they thought they were so fucking important that God loved them the best. And if you didn't think that, then they would kill you for it. Okay? That's your religious fundamentalists. They will kill you if you think that they're not God's greatest child. It's disgusting. They're animals.
Peculiar idea that religion itself must fundamentally be undermined by scientific discovery. I don't see quite why.
Well,
Can you watch Olive Enter's Wow Factor? Barbarians, yes. Troglodytes. What is this? Olive Enters Wow Factor. What the fuck is this? I don't think that I'm allowed to do this. I'm not going to watch this. Thank you for bringing it up, though, I guess. What's up, Katie? So bad.
I would agree with that. I'm just saying that the rebuttal that's presented to that opinion fairly commonly, I don't think works for the reasons that I've said.
Okay, well let's have give you both a little breather because we're going to go to another break very shortly. We fitted in so much, and I had all these questions, and I haven't asked any of them, and I'm worried now that I'm going to be left unemployed.
Before we move on, I don't know if I can have one final word on this Galileo point, because I know it seems quite strange that I'm sort of hypothesizing in this way, but you said that when religion and science come into conflict, either one is wrong or both is wrong. Galileo was wrong about one of these things potentially. What happens if I mean you can? It's great talking about the utility of his religious belief and inspiring his scientific endeavor. But what happens when the immediate fruit of that is him discovering something which should have been a celebrated idea and instead was suppressed, and he ends up under house arrest in Tuscany for the rest of his life? Why? Specifically because the religious authorities, in their sentencing of Galileo, did not just say that he failed to prove it, did not just say that he was, being a bit of an a-hole in his approach to things, but said specifically because it is false, absurd, and contrary to Scripture. That is why that scientific position was suppressed on specifically religious motivations.
And far be it from me to
And
defend the
otherwise-
Catholic Church and its crackdown
goes
on
back.
Galileo.
Okay.
You've come to the wrong place for that.
Okay, it's time. Phew, it's time for another
was-
break.
that
Here,
was
you
good.
are
That was
watching
really
and
good.
listening to the big conversation from Premiere Unbelievable. I am almost anonymous here, Andy Kind, but my day will come. And I've been joined by Ben Shapiro and Alex O'Connor. We'll be talking about religion and society. Is religion good for society? So much.
Unless this next point really interests me, I'll probably end there because, like, it's kind of dull. You know, like, I can sit here and appreciate it, but it's kind of dull. There's not really a whole lot going on.
Much more still to talk about. We'll see what we can fit in. We will fit in as much as we can, but we'll be back after this short break.
We'll see what the next talking point is.
Enjoying the conversation? Tell us who persuaded you in our survey. And if you want more from today's conversation, then register to get early access to the next show.
I mean, it kept me entertained for this long, but it's getting old.
Welcome back to part 3 of the big conversation from Premiere
Hi.
Unbelievable. Today, we are discussing religion and is it good or bad for society? And we're having a lot of
bad.
fun with it, I think. I mean,
I
I
agree.
know you're sort of in disagreement.
It's
on
really
things,
dry,
but
yeah.
I think we're just having fun with it today, aren't we?
Yeah, like I said, it held my interest, Queen Laura, long enough, but it is very stale.
As ever.
Well, I've been joined by Ben Shapiro and Alex O'Connor. And as I say, we're talking about religion and its role in society. One observation.
Anybody, by the way, who like thinks that Ben Shapiro is an intellectual or like they ascribe themselves to be intellectuals or whatever, watching this conversation, if they think that Ben is winning, they're full of shit and an idiot.
I've got from watching you
And the
guys
IQ
talk.
tests are a lie.
I wonder whether religion is being used as a bit of a catch-all term. You know, there is no summer festival where Ben and I would meet up because we're religious and have a beer together. You know, plenty of
And
Buddhist people don't
kiss.
even believe in God. So we probably don't
Fuck.
have the time to unpack it now, but religion is maybe not a
Kiss.
helpful catch-all term at all points. I wonder whether when we're saying religion in this context, we mean the Judeo-Christian.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm bored as fuck. That's good. Okay. All right, I had fun. It's over. God damn, that camera looks good. Holy shit. Isn't Ben a presuppositionalist? I have no clue what that means. I'll be honest with you, Chief. Okay. Who's live? We must find somebody to dump you on. We must do a big dump, folks. A big dump. Tipster, maybe. Yeah, fuck it. Why not? We'll do Tipster. We'll host the big Tipster. The big Tipster. We all love Tipster here. You guys know Tipster? He's a good fella. Okay, what do I gotta do here? It's Tipster. Okay, I need F12. I forgot to do this. I need the okay. I forget how to get the YouTube ID, like the channel ID, because I can't like. Here, hold on. YouTube channel ID grabber. There we go. Okay. Got it. Host. Channel. Okay. We're good to go, guys. Thank you all so much for being here. Love you guys. I will be back at some point. I'm sorry that I don't have like a good schedule. I'm trying to work on it. But I'll be back real soon because our channel's doing real good, folks. We're doing really good. Stocks are up. Stonks are high. All right, line is going up. So thank you all very much for being here. Love you all. Have a great night. And if I don't stream again tomorrow, which I might not, I don't know. Have a good rest of your weekend. I'll see you all when I see you all.